Ladies and gentlemen, we are live once again with the Kart Rider Drift League. My name is William Cho, joined by Peter once again. We're back together. Of course, we let Ryan State handle the days where there are no ace matches, and we're back to wish for more ace matches today as we are lining up 2 more team matches and a solo match. My first time actually getting to cast the solo matches now.
Yeah, solo match is definitely a really exciting one. We have so much different players coming in, constantly facing off against each other for the gain of points, and it's really exciting. I recommend it to you.
Oh, well, thank you. I am looking forward to it today. Of course, I mean, most of the players kind of taking part in the team match in some way, form, or another. There are a few that have only entered through the solo match, but we'll get to that later. Of course, here's an overview of the team matches, because that's what we're going to kick things off with today.
So we have 3 professional teams and 5 amateur teams who made it here through the qualifiers, and they will be facing off against each other on the main stage in a round-robin format for a chance to move on to the postseason, where the top 4 teams have 3 matches prepared for them to fight it off for the grand prize money of 40 million won to the champion, as well as money according to second, third, fourth, and so on.
Yeah, you'll still get something for your efforts, even if you're not able to top in the top spot. But of course, it is going to be a pretty huge difference. Now, looking at the standings so far, I mean, no big surprise, right? Live Sandbox and Kwangdong Freaks. I mean, not only because they're 2 of the pro teams, but also just their rosters. A lot of people expect them to be at the top of the list here for Kart Rider Drift. Now, the question is, who will eventually stand up to them out of the remaining 6 teams?
That is definitely a good question, because they do seem pretty evenly matched in the wins. But if you take a look at the round wins, Live Sandbox is ahead by 5 matches. So I do feel like it is a bit Sandbox favored right now, but that's why we have so many different matches to see these variables coming in.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, no one's completely immortal. We'll see when and how and if Sandbox eventually topples. Now, today it's going to be a battle for some of the teams that are remaining on the lower side or middle side of the standings so far. ROX Esports going up against Planet in our match 10. And then match 11 of the round-robin team match. It's going to be Finale Esports versus R. Finale doesn't have a single win yet in terms of match score.
Definitely looking to take that win for themselves today, because if they go down 0-3, that would be a disaster. It would be really hard for them to recover to try to get that position in top 4. Of course, there's a Group D match as well, which we are really looking forward to.
Yeah, of course, the solo match will happen after the team matches. It's going to be 8 people trying to get into the round of 16. But kicking off tonight, we're going to introduce our first team to the stage. It's going to be none other than ROX Esports.
ROX, they have such a strong lineup. I love this team. We have Jung, Vega, Spell, Dutsy, and Plansy, and every single player on this team can definitely pull their weight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Jung surely showing why he was such a legend, you know, in that alternate universe of Kart Rider over at KRPL, and now proving that he's ready to race once again with Kart Rider Drift here for the KDL. He's proving his worth and weight for ROX Esports.
He is proving it by being that steady runner for his team, always leading the pack. I love seeing this guy on the tracks, but of course we have Planet going to face off against ROX today, and this is also a pretty good lineup. We have Scarlet, MINSIK, Mari, AcidFly, and Lens. Some names are definitely do stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's important to remember here between these 2 teams is that both of them, they faced a loss in their first matchup, and then they bounced right back with a win in their second match. So now only one of these teams will be able to continue that streak for the W's on the scoreboard.
Not only that, they are also both teams in 4th place and 5th place right now. So this match today is going to really alter their rankings, and I'm sure both teams came super prepared for the match.
Yeah, let's take a closer look at the rosters here. We'll introduce, you know, the players and kind of their records so far, and little choice words for each other. First up, it's going to be ROX Esports, and we talked about Jung kind of as the highlight star here, but you know, the other players, none of them are meant to be ignored here.
For sure, you just take a look at their average stats. You know, their average rank for speed mode is 5th place. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
Dutsy.
Yeah, Dutsy is in the top 5. Yeah, I mean, ranking always somewhere near the top 3 in the races here for Team Speed. So really proving his worth as one of the speed racers. And, you know, are you ready to feel your limit? The Korean, we talked about this during the rehearsal. It's more like, are you ready to hit that brick wall or kind of hit your limit when you're facing us, you know, in this matchup?
Yeah, you know when you fight a player and you just feel like they're just out-gapping you each time, you don't know how you're going to beat this player. That's pretty much what they are trying to do today, ROX. Show Planet that ROX is the better team.
Yeah, I mean, ROX, of course, also one of the 3 pro teams with that infrastructure. So there's a lot of reputation on the line as well. Now, we keep mentioning it, the individual players, there's always going to be someone to note on either side. And, you know, that is the case for Planet. We mentioned some of these players earlier as well. And one player that stood out to me was, you know, AcidFly doing what he can. Even though he doesn't have as much reputation in the kart rider universe, he's starting to really show up as a player who's constantly trying to vie for a top spot in the efforts he puts in for his team.
Not only that, of course, they had a really fantastic block success rate, but you take a look at their words, my goodness.
Yeah, that's pretty savage. We'll go you down with the blade of lens. Not sure if it's the actual lens that turns into a blade or if it's, you know, just the blade that lens is holding, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. No blades in item mode in Kart Rider, so it's gonna be something else.
Yeah, I mean, you would assume, you know, maybe we'll crush you to death with our cart, but blades coming in, it's definitely spicing things up.
Ooh, and we're gonna kick things off with Planet's round 1 pick, which is going to be World Tour New York Rally. Now, with the bans and picks, they do alternate, so, you know, it's not just all bans up front. They're gonna each ban one, and then they go through their picks, or pick one and then ban, and then they'll keep alternating. So we start with World Tour New York, then we go to Zigzag Timberland, Extreme Stadium, and, you know, again, whether you like these maps or not, it kind of depends on, do you like the kind of tight, tough tracks as they're traditionally called here in Korea for Kart Rider, or do you like kind of the field maps, which are a little bit wider, they usually have 2 or more laps, things like that?
Well, I know one thing for sure so far, Will, and that is that Wolf doesn't like these narrow tracks,
he
and
doesn't
neither
like
do
them.
I also like the wider tracks.
Oh, you guys are cowards, I tell ya.
Yeah, I mean,
well, you're just gonna take it?
I suck at this game. I'll admit it. I can't drift for the life of me. I need that, you know, forgiveness.
I mean, let's be honest, especially for a lot of fans in the West now, I know some people, you've been OG fans of Kart Rider, which is great to see, but Kart Rider Drift, this is a good chance for a lot of new players to try to get into the game and the esport, which is absolutely thrilling. And you know, on the surface, it seems like very simple, but it is a tough game to get into. And of course, we're getting ready right away for our team speed match between ROX Esports and Planet. We're going to head right into track number 1, which is World Tour New York Rally. And they're off as they go through, of course, just a single lap here, so it doesn't loop around. So every twist and turn, I mean, it's really going to be about positioning towards the end. And of course, I mean, it's not a problem for the pros, but really keeping track of how much distance you have left until the final couple turns here in New York.
MINSIK right now leading the pack for Planet, but he is followed by 3 members of ROX. So ROX with that 2, 3, 4 position, definitely going to look at trying to keep it. Of course, MINSIK right now, he is trying to get overtaken by Jong, and he does get.
Yeah, eventually Jong takes over, but the big thing is MINSIK always trying to stay just a bit ahead in terms of number of boosts. Now, a little bit of extra collision there. MINSIK's going to lose a little bit more speed than he wanted, and now DDing actually up front, keeping on par with MINSIK in terms of boosts, and he also has his teammates to block for him, so this is a pretty stable spot for ROX so far.
1, 2, 3 is such a deadly combination. You cannot allow that if you're Planet. DDing is speeding off so far ahead. Jong and Spell just blocking out Scarlet and AcidFly. They are really unable to catch up to DDing right now.
Yeah, AcidFly was trying to do what he could with that draft on these wider turns to get a full drift while he's charging up that gauge, but while he couldn't do it, it's going to be Scarlet who's trying to catch up. Now, MINSIK has to come for support. The most important thing is Planet, they're still holding on to this midfield of ranks, so if only 1 or 2 players can break into the top 2 and break that 1-2 finish from ROX, things could still change.
For sure, 1, 2, you cannot allow that. 2, 3, 4, you know, you still have a fighting chance, but we are entering the final 300 meters. Jong leading out right now, Mari behind.
Jong still has that boost as well. He doesn't even really need to use it, and it's actually just going to be a straight 1-2 finish for ROX Esports. A very comfortable finish here in track number 1.
That was really, really comfortable. You can for sure say that again. Just 9 points in the lead. ROX looked pretty untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, right, they started off strong as well. You know, MINSIK, sure, he had the top spot a little bit in the beginning, but right at the beginning of the course on any track, everyone's so bunched up that it's really a matter of how are you using your boost, you know, and are you really charging up the gauges more so than just holding on to that first spot. And at the end of the day, ROX, they still had 2, 3 players right behind MINSIK, and they all overtook him by the end.
Yeah, Jung came in at an astounding first place finish, and we gotta give props to Jung because this guy is always so consistent, and it just makes you wonder, how is he so good at being a runner? Why is no one able to stop this guy? It has to be the teamwork, right? The sweepers.
Yeah, there's gotta be more going on than just his individual skills, but of course he has been famed as one of the legends at KRPL as well, so to see if he can replicate that success here at KDL, of course, he's off to a good start with that so far, and we are getting ready for track 2. Now, I believe this was the track in their last match where Jung was in like 7th place or something, and he just shoots forward on the 2nd lap and enters into the fight for the top 3. So interested to see if he replicates that again.
I mean, the track was picked by ROX themselves, so you would assume that, of course, Jung does feel really comfortable in that track as we get ready to enter round number 2 between ROX and Planet. It will be held in Forest Zigzag Timberland. Kicking off for round number 2.
Yep, and Dutzy just starting off by trying to block off some other members of Planet while he's able to still build up some of the charge with his own cutting. And he's going to be relatively successful at it. He still stays at the front of the pack, but again, we always mention on these tight tracks, you're always going to be relatively packed even towards the end of the 2nd lap. So it's really a matter of boost management and then positioning for the final couple draft opportunities.
Boost managements are going well so far as we see a congestion between the players. This is pretty common in this track. It happens a lot, but however, Dutzy is at the front, and when you have such a narrow track, you can't let them get the lead early on because it could be really hard to catch up to them later on.
Yeah, now Dutzy not able to break free though, so AcidFly and Scarlet, they will be constantly battling for him. Now earlier we saw John when he was on screen just constantly sneaking in those double drifts as well to make sure his boost management stays on par. Now as we go into some of these hairpins, a lot of collisions happening, but Dutzy is doing what he can to block Scarlet from gaining speed.
Dutzy, this guy is the master of blocking right now. However, Scarlet does find the lead a tiny bit, but Dutzy once again holding on. These two are having a rivalry match right now.
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is not only is he blocking them from gaining too much speed, but he's also denying them from getting any opportune drafts or things like that, and of course also blocking any sort of optimal line from them. So he's still set up ROX for potential success, as Spell is now right behind him. Jung as well. Jung, once again, he does this in the 2nd lap. He's trying to compete for the top spot.
Jung, the man that we have to keep our eyes on. He's definitely going to be looking at going for the top 2 because you do not want to give that 1-2 position over to Planet. They are 7 points ahead of ROX right now. Dutzy trying to do what he can to overtake Mari.
Oh, Dutzy with a great setup. He saves up both boosts so that they can charge up once again for a double team boost, and he's going to use both of them and instantly charge back up, as well as Mari now trying to overtake with his own boost, but Dutzy is still 1 boost ahead. Mari now just trying to keep up. They both have team boosts. Mari still has 1 left.
Here comes AcidFly and Spell to try to help out their top 1-2 players. However, Mari is the one still in the lead. AcidFly also feeling comfortable blocking out Spell.
Dutzy trying to position for an overtaker, but Mari, he's greeting so hard, and he's almost colliding, but he's still keeping the lead. He's actually done such a great play from blocking Dutzy, and he's going to break free, and Mari goes into first, and it's actually going to be a 1-2 finish as well.
Another 9-point victory for Planet. It's been the 9-point victory for ROX last time, so both teams throwing the punches at each other, making sure they feel the skills of the players.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give it to Mari this time. He could tell that Dutzy really wanted to get, overtake him on the inner line on those last couple hairpins, and he was actually greeting so hard to the point where he was nearly colliding with the walls just to protect himself from being overtaken on these boosts and, potentially even opening up a draft positioning. And because of that, Dutzy also has to greet, eventually loses speed on an extra collision from behind, and it's going to be Mari who shoots forward.
Mari and AcidFly, this was such a strong deal. They are the runner and the speed ace of the team Planet, so they did their roles really, really well. And of course, Scarlet, he was in the back, but he kind of likes to block people, so I also think Scarlet deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, I mean, again, sometimes it's a matter of making sure your team can hold on to some of those middle positions where even if you lose, the top spot or maybe even second or third spot, you'll be able to still get that point win. But yeah, you see it here at the end. I mean, Mari's just making sure they're able to keep up with Dutzy and just battle with him for that top spot. So much of both of them positioning against each other.
Yeah, I mean, they were just drafting against each other all the time, looking for the angle to overtake, and ultimately, it was Mari coming in at that first place finish, and I'm really excited to see what Mari will bring us more.
Yeah, well, we'll see. This is going to be Planet's pick in round 3. This is tied 1-1, and we're going to Glacier Extreme Stadium. And the race begins, tied 1-1 in this speed match between ROX and Planet. Both of them obviously would ideally want to get the speed win and tie it or get into an item win, so it's a 2-0 victory.
ROX looking absolutely strong right now in the standings. 1, 2, 5, 6. You cannot allow that 1-2 because that is a victory condition.
Yeah, and this top spot is actually, the top 4, they're starting to break away from the rest of the pack. As we enter these last couple turns, we'll see if it's enough for the later 4 to join in. Now, Spell going to get knocked around just a bit against that wall. He's quickly going to catch back up, though. I mean, there's still an opportune time because on these hairpins, everyone's going to lose a little bit of speed. It's more about boost management if you can keep that up so that you can overtake them near the end.
Speaking of hairpins, this is it right here. Players are usually really good at going through these 90-degree angles, as we see every single player make it across just fine. However, you look at Jung and Spell, they are leading by such a far distance.
Yeah, I mean, Jung, you gotta imagine that he's kind of off in his own world for now. There is a couple more opportunities now, not here because you can actually take that straightaway in between the curves so that you can maintain your speed. But as we get towards, the end part of this hill section, you'll have one more opportunity, but AcidFly, he's greeting against Spell as well, so he can't actually gain enough speed to catch up to Jung.
Yeah, AcidFly, he can't just go for rank 1 at this point. He needs to buy time for Mari and Scarlet to catch up. So you can see him trying to block out Spell, making sure that there's no 1-2 formation for ROX. They've pretty much given up on Jung at this point.
Yeah, and we saw it in the lower right corner of the screen as well. Dutzy was doing what he could to block the middle section of Planet. He was not successful. So now if Planet can keep that second spot and Mari can somehow catch up, they might have a chance, but it seems like it's going to be just too far ahead, which means AcidFly, he's going to have to overtake Jung.
AcidFly, what can you show us?
Oh, he tried it. Yeah, he tried to knock Spell off and just try to get his teammates up front, but it's not going to work out. And the victory goes over to ROX to lead 2-1 in this speed match.
I really like that attempt of a tackle. It reminds me of a football game. Heroic, but this time it didn't work.
Yeah, again, sometimes you have to have that comms of just say, hey, let's go for the Hail Mary play, right? There's no way I'm getting first, right? Jung's already off. There's no way I'm going to catch up to him on the single last jump. So you make the play that is going to get you the win. Unfortunately, it was not successful. What more can you do?
Yeah, I mean, this time ROX did take that score, but it is not over for Planet because it is only 2-1. And so far, Planet has made this race really close between the two teams. So I really hope they're able to find a way to come back, especially with their combo in AcidFly, Mari. We know these guys are fantastic runners.
Yeah, and here's the thing for ROX. I mean, ideally, they win this with a 3-1 because people have been praising them ever since they put up a fight 2-3 against Guangdong Freaks, who was kind of expected to be one of the stronger team speed, teams here in the KDL. So if they end up going 2-2 against Planet, this might spell trouble for them. Of course, on the other side, maybe it's praise for Planet.
For sure. I mean, Jung, he's definitely such a reliable player for ROX. Even if ROX does drop the speed mode match, as long as they get to the ace mode, that's where Jung really shines. He's been the absolute GOAT there.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can keep it up as we go to ROX's next pick. It's going to be round number 4 on Desert Barrows Pass.
Off we go into round number 4. We have Spell leading the pack for ROX. Of course, AcidFly, the trustworthy member for Planet, also in the front.
Yeah, everyone just using their initial boost so they can start to tie in all of their drifts here around that little zigzag. And Jung just instantly gaining the 2 double team boosts so that, even though he's in 8th place, I don't think he's going to be too worried. Again, I mean, this is one of those where there is that jump near the end here. If you drift correctly, you should be able to get a better line and catch up.
Yeah, we see right now ROX, they have the 3-4 formation. They don't want to give that 1-2 over to Planet, so we have Dutzy trying to do some catch-up however he can. And does manage to get ahead of Scarlet. That's pretty big for ROX.
Now this one, again, a relatively wider track in certain sections, and of course a 3-lapper, which means each lap is going to be much shorter than the tracks we've seen prior. So even if you fall behind, if you're able to just maybe somehow block that middle section and gain a couple more boost gauges for your team, it should be successful. Jong just correctly maneuvering around that collision. He's going to be able to stay in the top 4. ROX is positioning in a way where they always have an option to win.
ROX looking really good here. However, Jong, you know, he did get blocked out by MINSIK just now. He's trying to find the angle to try to overtake MINSIK with a fantastic blocks.
MINSIK so good. He positions in a way where Jong will have to take the greedier turn. Jong actually tries to fight him. He's going to lose out of that battle. Spell does what he can to try to jump forward, but AcidFly is just way too far ahead. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to round 5 as Planet ties us up 2-2.
Now that's what you call a 1-2 punch coming out of AcidFly and MINSIK. The absolute dominance, the victory condition. Man, Planet, they are making things so hype right now.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, again, we're even going to round 5, you know, that's impressive. And then on top of that, we have to remember ROX, they haven't looked so good in their item matches so far. So Planet, I mean, this might be a good setup for them if they can potentially get a, you know, somewhat upset win against a pro team like ROX Esports.
Yeah, I mean, Spell and Planzy are the 2 hybrid players for ROX, so they are both good at item mode and speed, but so far, as you said, that's just what they're known for, but the results have shown otherwise. So ROX definitely wants to end it here on the speed mode on a positive note if possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're feeling very desperate for it. Just to look at the records, ROX has only won 1 round of item mode so far in their 2 matches in the team match. So it's going to be an uphill battle. Now, again, here, MINSIK knows that Jong has to greed for the most inner line in that corner. He actually cuts it in a way that Jong, the only way he's getting out of there is hitting the wall and then resetting. So great play from MINSIK, and, you know, Jong doing what he can, but it's not successful.
Yeah, I mean, Jong, this is the MVP so far in ROX, we can for sure say that. And Planet was able to lock out the MVP, and I mean, if you can do that, you may as well take the win as we get ready to enter our track number 5, Mine Winding Slopes.
And we're off as we enter one of, if not the toughest tracks here in Kart Rider Drift. Of course, just a single lap, that already tells you it's going to be a tough track. And this one is just full of narrow corridors all through and through.
Our players are doing whatever they can to gather the boost gauge without hitting the wall. But of course, it is a tall task right now for ROX. Planet with the 1-2-3, AcidFly leading the pack once again.
Yeah, we'll see how they maneuver around these jumps here as well. It's going to be important to not lose so much speed. Dutzy actually using Scarlet to his benefit and making sure he stays on course to maintain a fight for the top. He actually has to lose a lot of speed there just to make way and not collide.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely lost a lot of momentum, but not colliding was also good. So he's still maintaining that 4th place position. But now Planet with the 1-3, they're looking dominant.
Yeah, and of course, these pros, they're all dodging the pipes just fine. Jong actually maneuvering a little bit around, taking a detour just so he can overtake, and AcidFly is going to hit the corner, trying to make space against Jong. It's not going to be successful. Jong is getting away with 1st place. Currently, ROX up by 1 point.
It is Scarlet versus Jong right now, 1v1, but Scarlet falls behind. Look at Jong speeding off. Now it's Dutzy versus AcidFly and Scarlet.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Dutzy holds this position, they should be okay. And I don't think there's going to be any upset here as ROX is going to take it 21-18 in a 3-2 scoreline in the speed match against Planet.
Jong, in round number 4, he kind of choked there, you know. His attempt of overtaking failed and it ended up damaging the rankings of ROX, but this time coming in as the MVP, locking in that 1st place finish, that was so big.
Yeah, I mean, a great race from Jong. And the fact that he's able to just stay ahead. And we saw it in that ace match he played in their last match as well. And once you give him an inch, he will take a mile, right? And he'll just run off with it. He won't give you any more opportunities to overtake him. So that's a player where you just want to make sure he never gets into 1st place, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah, and on top of that, you don't want to make it a 1v1, but that's what ended up happening, unfortunately, because the members of Planet simply couldn't keep up, as you mentioned, coming into those hairpin turns. when you have to adjust to make sure that you don't crash into the wall, that does lead to a lot of speed being lost.
Yeah, of course, we saw some of those maneuvers. Of course, that was a section where also you have to make that jump if you want to just keep up in pure distance. So DDing was making that correct call as well. Now we are going to see a little roster change here. It's going to be Plansy coming in as this racer for item mode, and Vega being subbed out. Of course, Plansy, the dedicated item ace here for ROX Esports.
Yeah, Vega is the sweeper for ROX, so we will see if other players can fulfill that role well. I mean, I do know that definitely Spell has been preferring to stay in that middle, so I'm excited to see what he can bring us. And we have another racer change for Planet. It will be Lens in and Mari out.
Yeah, they talked about how they're going to cut down ROX with the Blade of Lens, so if there's any time to do it, it's going to be when he's playing here in the item mode, and they're going to need it. I mean, that way they can at least take it to an ace match and see how it goes.
Yep, and we have a fan saying that Spell put a spell today on the win for ROX, I believe. Yep, ROX.
Yeah, just putting a spell so that they can win. We'll see if it works. I mean, now we'll find out if Spell is an actual magician or not, right? Or wizard, I guess. But this is going to be the track list, bans, and picks coming out. Kicking off with Mine Magma Cavern from ROX, and then going on to Glacier Polar Half-Pipe.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that, of course, World Tour maps are commonly getting banned out. Pharaoh's Pass, I've seen that one a lot too. But Icebreaker Pass is going to be played out, and I do like this track, so I'm really excited to see what Planet can show us there.
Yeah, we actually got to take a look at World Tour London Night in yesterday's team match. One of the matches, it was played in the item mode with Liv Sandbox, and you could just tell that was, I think, the moment where a lot of us watching were just like, okay, this is the team to beat, because the way they were maneuvering that item mode was just as impressive as their speed mode, which is already just such high reputation, right?
Yeah, definitely a lot of reputation there, as we have so many fans cheering on our teams as we get ready to enter item mode, track number 1, Mine Magma Cavern.
And we're off for the first item mode track, and of course it's just going to be everyone trying to get items. We're actually looking at AcidFly not able to secure any for himself. I think he might have missed, yeah, he going again with no items. It's not gonna be too detrimental because we're only on the first lap, but he's gonna have to either choose to kind of hang back just to get items or not.
Yeah, I mean, first lap, this is where we see my favorite item, the banana. I want to see them slip on those. It's very fun, you know, it's a 360 turn, and then kind of go off your pace.
Yeah, that's a nice little sound effect. I like it. And the fact that, again, a lot of the first couple areas, and even we see it right here on screen, these are a little bit narrower portions of the track compared to a lot of the item mode tracks we have here in KDL. So things like the banana, things like the water bomb, they are going to be a bit more effective than they usually are.
And water bombs are really fun. When you toss it, sometimes you can hit 0, sometimes you can hit 4 players. It's like the craziest thing ever if you make it work.
Yeah, I mean, if you can land a great one. Yeah, like this was a good one, of course, up front. It was going to be the missile that hits as well. And things like that as well, as you continue to watch the item mode, tying things in with like the barricade or the missile, and then the water bomb, or the water wisp into the water bomb. So even if they have a shield, they're going to be hit by at least one of those items. It's going to be very important to coordinate.
I'm going to confess to you here, Will, barricades actually do give me a lot of problems. For some reason, when it comes up, I always hit the center.
I mean, sometimes, especially if it's timed right, it can even get the best of players. Now, Scarlet having a little fun by just, you know, warming up his keyboard by swapping those items between his boost and his magnet. Now, he's going to try to keep these to the end, and the question is going to become, do I use these to overtake into first place, or do I use them to draw aggro? Jong is just going to rotate out that banana in favor of a shield, and the EMP being used by his teammates as well. Jong just trying to position himself for first place.
Dudsy also there trying to keep out Scarlet. It's really close right now. Dudsy leading at that first place. Scarlet with the magnet though. Oh my goodness.
So ROX actually positions in a way where Jong actually gives up first place because he has a magnet. So the idea is I'll pull back Scarlet while we have Dudsy try to push forward. But it's going to be Scarlet who just ignores all that because he has a magnet on top of his boost and he's able to just dash forward into the finish line and slingshot in before Jong can catch up.
Now that's what I call a outplay and Kart Rider drift. Beautifully played by Scarlet there. Perhaps one of the best usage of magnets that we've seen so far.
Yeah, and you just look at the stat lines as well. I mean, Scarlet making so many passes just to stay relevant. Of course, again, it is item mode where, you know, it's not all about how you've been performing the entire laps. Of course, it's just a matter of getting one of your players through that finish line at the end. But the fact that he was not only the one who was constantly making passes against the other players and being relevant, but he also had some great items, a success rate and items saved up for that finish line. So we'll see if he can replicate that as we move forward in the later tracks.
We can take a look at the replay of what happened. Joe, you know, he just slowed down at the aim.
Yeah, he purposely aims for it. I mean, you don't see that every day. Just great usage. Again, this was one of those tracks where, because it's so narrow, we've seen several successes here of the water bombs and Scarlet using that magnet to boost forward slingshot and then continue his boost in a way where Jung can't catch up. I mean, when you're lined up like that, you kind of have to predict what the opponents have, right, to overtake them.
Yeah, prediction, you always have to be a pace above your opponent. That definitely pays off big time as we get ready for track number 2, Glacier Polar Half-Pipe. And the round 2 race begins.
Now just picking up our first items, of course, just going to try to cycle through those, and now this is where we'll start to get an idea, you know, the beginning stages of each item mode track of what is this team's idea, right? What is kind of the finishing wombo combo that they're gunning for, and that might have to change as you go. Now, Polar Half-Pipe, another one of those tracks where the water bombs can be somewhat damaging.
Yeah, and usually on this map, you go a lot faster if you get on top portion of the track. However, it was only Jung taking that. A lot of players here opting for the items instead of speed.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the first couple of tracks, I mean, if you can just get those items, try to cycle through, especially if you don't have the ones that you would want for lap 2 or 3, it's going to be much more beneficial. Because again, it's not speed mode. You're not going to be able to build up your boost through those drift gauges, so you are still going to be able to catch up in one way, form, or another.
I'm really enjoying these water bombs today. I don't know if it's just today, but I feel like I'm seeing them land so many times today on multiple people.
I will be honest, I mean, part of it is definitely the tracks, but I think the other thing is I don't think we've seen as many Angels today, so the team is just trying to have to maneuver around the fact that they don't have this get-out-of-jail-free card in the bank. I mean, you can even see it now. Sure, they've all saved up their magnets, but they don't have the Angels to guarantee that whoever's up front will be able to keep that lead. Scarlet with a nice little banana on the turn as well.
Sick banana coming out as we get ready to move on into lap number 3. This is where the top 3 or top 4 is going to really matter. We have 2 players each for Planet and ROX.
Okay, Scarlet just dodging around it. He does have 2 shields as well. Now, there is a UFO in hand for Spell. No EMP yet, so he's going to use that right away. Scarlet's going to get pulled back. Now, Scarlet was never meant to be the first place here for AcidFly, or for Planet. It was AcidFly who has the magnet.
Right, as we see Jung, he did not make it up there, so now it's all up to Dutzy and Lens to try to go for that first place finish for the team, trying to block each other out, and MINSIK comes out of nowhere. Yeah,
what they get here as their second item was going to be so crucial. Now a boost in hand along with the magnet as well. Planet trying to just use all of these to slingshot forward, and they will get it as Scarlet once again enters in first place.
First place with 2, 3, 4, 5 going over to ROX. If Scarlet wasn't there, that was ROX's game.
Yeah, I mean, if Scarlet wasn't able to keep that up, but again, in that last set of items, what you got was so crucial. If you were able to get boosts on top of the magnet, you could still try to just stay in the lead. Whereas if you're only stuck with the magnet, you actually have to give up that first place to then slingshot back forward. So I'm sure lots of thoughts going through all the players' minds, but at the end of the day, it's actually going to be Scarlet, who was the only player from Planet who got near the front right at the last second.
I don't know about you, Will, but I feel like ROX is starting to really feel the blade of Lens here because they are up 2-0 right now over ROX, a team that we were worried for because their item mode performance wasn't that great.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly a weakness of ROX, right? I don't think there's any doubt that they have individually skilled players, especially in speed mode. Obviously, you know, they've even built a 5-man roster to make sure they have an item ace, but it's not coming to fruition yet, and if there's any time to prove that it works, it's going to be here as they're down 0-2 in this item mode team match against Planet as we get into Mine Mother Load. And we're off. I just noticed MINSIK using the speed reader card. Of course, we don't see that in the speed mode too much, but we've seen a couple players use it here in item mode. And it's nice to just see a little bit more variance here in the card bodies as well.
For sure, I love variance. We love it all. As we see a bunch of EMP waves for that 1-2. Not a very useful item. It is too conditional.
Yeah, I mean, it's very niche. And here's the thing. Because the UFOs are also fairly niche, the UFOs are never going to be a strong win condition for your opponents. So I think it's okay to just try to cycle through it as you're coming up against another extra set of items here. A nice missile is actually going to keep Spell at bay, but he's just going to retaliate with the Wisp. Now, we'll see this a lot, right? The missiles on the Wisps will be used a lot in the first 2 laps just to keep everyone still bunched up in a way where no one can get too far ahead. And as I say that, Dutzy is rocketing forward.
Speaking of rocketing forward, he is barely visible on the map. Only Scarlet being able to keep up right now. The rest of the members definitely doing some catch-up now. Jung and AcidFly pressing on the acceleration pedal.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is, Dutzy and Scarlet, they feel fairly comfortable that this could turn into a 1v1. Jung's actually going to move forward, so this way, Jung can actually help draw aggro, but AcidFly is going to take that top track. He's actually even going to bring up the magnet. He's trying to block off Dutzy just to buy time, but he actually also falls behind to set up for the UFO as well.
A lot of back and forth already on the second lap. I'm excited to see how much more action we'll have on the third lap at this point, because this is looking really crazy.
Yeah, and there was that banana dropped on the narrow portion of that last section as well, so we'll see if that comes into play now. This time, much more of a traditional setup from both teams, Angels and Magnets being saved up here towards the end, and it's going to matter as we have teams from, or players from both teams bunched up here in the top 4 positions.
We have Scarlet leading out right now. AcidFly, ooh, beautiful Angel blocking out that water bomb.
Oh, and Jung's able to use a boost to get up front. This is going to allow him and Dutzy to stay so much far forward, and Jung still has a magnet as well. He's going to use this to make sure that no one passes over Dutzy. Can he use it right now?
Oh no, Scarlet!
No, Scarlet's actually just getting forward. 2 magnets is still not enough. Oh, Jung! It is enough. It's not enough to pull him back, but it is enough to pull Jung forward as he slingshots over the jump.
Mr. Jung, where did you come from? He came from the heavens or something.
Yeah, I mean, he straight up did, Peter. I agree. And what a good setup. I thought, actually, with the boost as well, we were going to see Planet and we're going to see Scarlet specifically finish once again in first place. I thought it was not going to be enough range for Jung to slingshot forward, but off of the jump, he's able to maintain just a higher speed, and he enters, I mean, literally 0.1 seconds before.
Yeah, fantastic choice of line by Jung there, giving his team that much-needed win. They are still down 2-1, so a lot of pressure for ROX, but actually Jung looks very comfortable.
He looks very confident, and honestly, if I'm ROX Esports, I'm starting to think, like, how much more do we have to pay this guy, because he's winning all the speed matches for us, and he's winning the item matches for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the biggest hybrid. I mean, like, what can we say as the best hybrid player? Like
the Giga Hybrid.
Oh my, I like that one.
The Giga Hybrid player of Kart Rider
That's
Drift.
his nickname now.
That's his nickname. I mean, he won the ace match last time as well. I mean, he's the all-round player that you would want on a roster like this.
Yeah, and we have a fan coming in from Busan to cheer on ROX, and we all know how far Busan is because it's on the complete other side of Korea.
Yeah, complete other end of the peninsula here. Now ROX, they're keeping their hopes alive of a potential 2-0 as we head into Glacier Icebreaker Pass.
Here we go into round number 4. We have 3 laps on this map.
Yeah, and I'm actually curious on Planet picking this track, as it is a fairly simple track. I mean, as most item modes go, but this is also very wide, where a lot of the water bombs aren't going to do much good, things like that. So, you know, as the team who might have been favored in this matchup against ROX, I'm curious as to why they picked this up. But we'll see what their setup is towards the later laps to see what they had in mind.
You know, Scarlet had a setup, he had a double banana, and it made me kind of excited for a second, but unfortunately he got rid of that real fast, as we see a lot more magnets and boosters coming into play for both teams.
Yeah, of course there is this tunnel at the end, and even with the magnets, there is a way where you could potentially just body blind the person that's trying to magnet in front of you, or ahead of you rather. So I'm curious to see what Planet's idea is here. Now the EMP just going to be cycled out for Banana, which I'm sure Scarlet will use soon enough as well. Yep, just going to cycle that out. I mean, he's not getting the items he wants, right? He's still getting that UFO. He's just going to use that, drop down, make sure to keep Dutzy in check. My eyes are on Scarlet because he's been making the big plays here for Planet.
Yeah, Scarlet definitely always a player that's been leading the pack, but there's Jung right behind him, and that's got to put some pressure on Scarlet because now you need to make sure you're focused. We saw what happened last time. You take your eyes off Jung for 1 second, and he comes speeding.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Jung has a magnet, but Plansy has two, so either of them can stay behind to help kind of combat the potential members of Planet overtaking them. So they were okay trading places there as Jung got UFO'd. He's going to get UFO'd once again. Now this puts 3 members of Planet, which means they can start to try to draw aggro for each other to draw out these magnets.
Yeah, Len's doing that right now, trying to draw aggro from Planet, but that banana actually came in huge, and Scarlet getting dropped out as well. Now Planet, or Plan Z, has a clear field looking for the angle on Lens.
Yeah, now Plansy, he's going to actually, we're going to see an EMP come out. Another UFO, though. Planet stacking these UFOs, and Lens is going to stay up front, even with the magnet. He should be able to body block just enough, and he is going to enter in first place, blocking out Plansy, and that means, Peter, because State isn't here, we go to an ace match.
Aha! We are definitely fans of ace matches.
Yes,
so is State, maybe even more than us, but so far, we're hogging it, and honestly, I'm down to keep it that way.
Yeah, I'd like to thank State for his sacrifice of staying home today so that we can watch more ace matches, because who doesn't like a good ace match?
Thank you, State, for blessing us today. We are super excited, stoked.
Yeah, well, I am curious, you know, who's going to come out swinging here for either team. I mean, Jung obviously proving his worth last time. I mean, he darted far, far forward to a point where there was just no hope of catching up. Now against Ding last time it was, and now I'm curious to see if he comes out again. And of course, on the side of Planet, who should be the one taking this? Of course, it's also going to come down to which track has been selected as well.
Yeah, I mean, we see the teams discussing the strategies definitely right now, trying to figure out who is the most comfortable player to come out for the ace mode, representing their whole entire team, their results off of just one match from this player. It's a lot of pressure.
All right, well, we see the teams in discussion on both sides, and of course, the stage will soon show us what the track is going to be. But before that, a little bit of a review here for that last track here on the item mode. Scarlet just trying to body block even though he hits the banana there. And Lens, I mean, you see that. He bumps right at the end as well, just to make sure that no one's overtaking him as he gets magneted behind.
Yeah, sometimes you just stop accelerating for a second to check your rear mirror and make sure that nobody can catch up to you, because if you just bump them a little bit, that boop might be what gets you the rank 1.
And the track is going to be Desert Pharaoh's Pass. Now, what's interesting to me is that we've already seen this track between these two teams just today. It was played in round 4. It was ROX's selection, and actually Planet ends up winning that. Now, of course, that wasn't a team setting where you have the team boost. You have people, you know, to sweep for you and block for you and things like that. Now, this is, of course, going to be a 1v1.
Yeah, 1v1, all about the skills, and we do see a really long lane without any curves. So it's going to be a lot about, you know, the cutting. Wow.
Okay, and we're going to see AcidFly come out as the ace here for Planet. Now, AcidFly is also playing in the solo matches later today, so if he can win this, that's going to be a great warm-up and just great ego boost for him as he gets prepped for solo matches.
For sure, the momentum boost is definitely a huge factor in esports, and I'm sure that our players, Jung and AcidFly, they both feel ready to take on this ace mode because they are known for being great runners as we get ready to enter Desert Pharaoh's Pass.
And we're off. AcidFly versus Jung. Now, last time Jung showed such dominance in the ace match. We'll see if he can replicate it. I don't think it's going to be as easy because this is a fairly simpler track with 3 laps. There should be many opportunities to overtake each other.
Yeah, and Jung is a player that won the recent ace match by allowing literally 0 drafts. So we'll see if he can keep that up today again. When he gets a lead, he doesn't let it go.
Yeah, right there. We saw Jung playing to try to block AcidFly from getting the inner course. He's actually going to hug the wall a little bit too close, and he's going to fall behind. But again, I mean, this is a track where you should be able to overtake. Now, here's the thing. AcidFly is constantly one boost ahead, or just slightly, right? His gauge is always topping off just a bit before Jung. So Jung is actually going to have to greed a little bit more of his drift gauge to try to catch up, and he's doing that right now with a lot of his cuts.
Yeah, he's cutting right now for the maximum gauge boost, and he is catching up. It's working so far because he is not too far behind AcidFly.
Oh, yeah, an even closer line there on the corner as well. Jung, he knows he's now in position to place himself in a good spot in this third lap. He's even close enough to get that draft there as they're going through for the final lap. Now, you could see AcidFly was feeling the pressure on the last couple turns. We'll see if Jung can put the pressure on again.
Jung definitely needs to put it on and make AcidFly nervous to take even more greedier lines. We see players trading right now. Jung coming in super close, and he gets that.
Oh, he almost does, but AcidFly's hugging the wall still while not losing his own drifts. And it looks like AcidFly can he finish in form? Jung actually moves forward. AcidFly, he loses speed on the last drift, trying to block Jung. And it's going to be Jung using that to his advantage. He now has 2 ace match victories under his belt in the KDL.
Jung was known exactly for this in KRPL. One of the best, if not the best, ace mode players, and he's proving himself right now, even in the KDL. Man.
Yeah, I mean, his nickname was the ace match finisher, and boy, we're seeing that right now. The fact that he's always paying attention to that one last opportunity. We saw him, trying to take the chances he could in the, right before the jump there on that last lap. But when that didn't work, he said, okay, I still have one more shot. And he puts the pressure on to the point where AcidFly has to play a little bit more defense. And Jung says, thank you very much, I'll pass you right now.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because we were talking about how Jung needs to apply the psychological damage.
Oh, AcidFly. I mean, you got to feel for the guy because he now has to play a solo smash later today. And here's the thing is that he felt like he could win, and he could have, right? I mean, if he had actually made a tighter drift there instead of trying to, focus on Jung potentially taking the outer line, he might have even just been bumped forward. I mean, I think the other concern there was on that last jump, maybe being bumped a little bit out. And so he tries to, he's actually trying to block against Jung there, but he therefore loses speed, off of his drift, whereas Jung actually doesn't bump straight into him. He just kind of scrapes him and is able to keep his speed. And I mean, but that's the control Jung has. I mean, that's why against a player like him, I mean, AcidFly, you did what you could, but maybe, you're going to review it and say, maybe I should have just played my optimal, race there at the end.
Yeah, and that's what's great about these matches. You get practice not only off stage, even on stage. You get to constantly learn about new factors. But today, it is ROX taking that victory over Planet. It was a pretty close match going all the way down to set 3.
Yeah, and ROX, they now continue a win streak with 2 on the board. Planet, they get knocked back down as they reset their wins here. Only 1 win and then 2 losses. Now, here's the thing. ROX, they look great, right? Their speed matches are generally pretty good, although kind of close. And then they have someone like Jung who's reliable for these ace matches. But the thing is you don't always want to have to go to the ace match. You got to brush up on the items as well.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it like it is. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, they've only won 2 tracks of item mode so far, right? And they've lost 9.
Oh, my.
Okay, yeah, they're 2-9 in item tracks. So I think a little bit more planning, a little bit more practice there, and they could become a super team for sure.
But what if, Will? What if the strategy is actually that they know they're going to win speed because they're all speed demons? Item mode, screw that, because Jung is our god. I can see that angle.
Yeah, but what if Jung wakes up one day with a stomachache? What are you gonna do?
No.
Like, what are you gonna do? You never know what's gonna happen. And here's the thing: there's always other players coming up. I mean, we'll even see it today in the solo matches where it's a lot of relatively newer players in terms of solo mode, and some of them could suddenly become these demons, right? These stars that say, oh, it's not even against 7 other players, it's just 1. Oh, I can win against this guy. So again, Jung's great. He's a legend in KRPL. I think he's trying to replicate that career here in the KDL, but not the thing you want to rely on. Not to say that Jung's unreliable, but you don't want to have to rely on that.
Yeah, that is definitely a good point because last time they took a defeat against Guangdong Freaks. Although Guangdong Freaks is such a great team right now and they're looking pretty much only second to Live Sandbox, you still don't want to have such an exploitable weakness, I would say. Definitely item mode. You can't just be giving that up every time. And Planet, I also want to give some shout out to them because I feel like they were a amateur team with a little bit of a question mark on their head as to how they will really perform. And I feel like so far in the preseason, they're definitely impressing the fans right now.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if you're able to go 2-3 in the team speed mode against ROX Esports, again, a team that was built around these players that have reputation in the other other universes of Kart Rider. I mean, you're doing quite well for yourself, but we're in the preseason, right? So if they can take this time to learn and grow, I mean, who knows how these players will look as we enter the regular season later this year. Now, the other thing about ROX Esports is, not just to talk about Jung and the ace matches, but the thing is also their speed matches, they've lost 2-3 against Guangdong Freaks, and then today they won 3-2 against Planet. Sure, they had a 3-0 in the middle there, but even the speed matches, it's not like they're completely dominant, right? So I think there's still that kind of missing 2% here for ROX Esports.
Well, that missing 2% is definitely why they are not sitting at rank number 1 right now. So I hope they definitely figure it out. We still haven't found the kryptonite to Live Sandbox yet so far. Maybe it could be the Live Sandbox versus Guangdong that does it, or it could be another rookie team. It's all just a mystery box right now, and I'm having a lot of fun opening it piece by piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, again, that's why Sandbox looks so scary, is everyone kind of expected them to be, dominant once again in terms of speed mode, especially with the roster they have. But the fact that they're still able to keep up just as much, if not better, in the item mode compared to some of these teams that are kind of just vying for the item mode to push it to the ace match, right? I mean, watching that match yesterday from Sandbox, the way they had understood how these item mode tracks play is very incredible. I mean, if you're a hardcore Kart Rider fan, I absolutely recommend going back and watching that, because kind of the way they set up some of their items and boosts, especially on some of those tracks like London Night, was very impressive to see.
Yeah, it's so interesting how you can swap up the strategy basically on the spot based on what your team has the composition of items for. Sometimes it's the nitrous that does it. You just suddenly accelerate and you're in the first place. Magnet, we've seen that just today. I wonder when we're going to see like a water bomb right before the finish line. And it
actually hits, yeah. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. Obviously, most teams, they'll try to keep their shields and angels for the last seconds, but sometimes maybe you just didn't get them, right? Or, maybe you weren't able to save it because they were forcing it out with all these other items, and that's another strategy as well. So I'm curious to see. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the nitrous, the boost, because that's actually how a Sandbox wins that item mode London Night yesterday, is they save that boost and they actually use it a second later so that they avoid the jump, yada yada. You can go back and look at the VOD. But again, very impressive stuff. Now, ROX Esports, back to the focus of the winners for today's first team match. Again, if they can brush up the item mode, I think they become a much more dominant team.
Yeah, ROX, definitely a lot of positive things going for them right now. The initial concern was that 2 KRPL players coming over, and I believe it's going to be Vega and Jung. And of course, they had another rookie player as well coming into the league for the first time, trying to build up his career. They're doing great so far.
Yeah, I mean, very impressive. I think a very interesting roster to follow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue on with Team Match 11 here at the Kart Rider Drift League. Kart Rider fans around the world, welcome back as we continue the Kart Rider Drift League. We just finished team match 10, and ROX will take that win against Planet, and now we're getting ready for another one between Finale Esports and Aura.
What a great way to start off for match number 11. Finale Esports and Aura, they are very closely matched so far, so I am assuming that we'll have another very close, evenly matched score results today as we see the members of Finale taking their entrance.
Yeah, Finale currently the only team without a match win, so they're hungrier than ever to take this team match win against Aura, and they're going to need it because if you don't get it now, I mean, we're in a round robin with only 8 teams. If you start off 0-3, things are looking pretty dire for you to enter the top 4.
Yeah, Finale is the team with, we could say, fire on their house right now. They definitely need to do some emergency patchwork because they don't want to be the bottom 4 team. And on the opposing side, we do have Aura. I feel like Aura, on the other hand, has had a fantastic performance so far.
Yeah, I mean, they had that win against Planet, who we just saw take that devastating loss against ROX, and then they were actually, trying to combat against Sensation, took it to the ace match by winning the item mode, but at the end of the day, Hero actually losing to his former coach, Hojin, and they weren't able to eke out that match win.
Yeah, they lost, but it was really close. As you said, it could have gone either way. So Aura, we might as well look at this team as a team that could have gone 2-0. So I am sure that Finale definitely wants to take down their opponents here because they've already lost twice against amateur teams, and soon they'll need to go against pro teams, which is even harder.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle right here. So Finale, they got to do what they can. Now, here's the thing. I mean, they've shown some life in some of the speed match tracks, but their item mode has been lacking, and a lot of that comes back down to the fact that, they're putting out a lot of attacks per minute. You can see it. I mean, they're in first place. They're putting out 7 attacks per minute, so they're constantly throwing stuff at their opponents, but if you can't keep your standings for the race, you're not going to have someone enter the finish line first.
You have to wonder if that's the reason why they're not doing great, which would be ironic, but we have a
Why is your team named Aura? The team has no aura at all. This works a little bit better in Korean because they use a different word for the second aura, but basically saying you're not exuding any type of aura, so why'd you name yourself that?
That's really savage, man.
I mean, yeah, it's poking fun at, I'm sure they spent, they probably had a little team meeting on, like, what should our team name be, right? We're getting together as some of these players that still have a good reputation, and they wanted to name themselves Aura, and Finale just says, nope, we're just going to knock that right back down.
And we see the signs coming in. It's Texas, Knock, it's all their names, and they're saying,
Oh, I didn't read the lower part, actually, yeah.
It's in English on the back.
Well, to dare is to do. We are Aura. Okay, it does actually make some sense.
Yeah?
Yeah, so basically saying, right, we were going to dare to challenge all the other teams. You have a striker, but why can't you score a goal? Because they're always on the attack, but they can't get that item mode win.
Yeah.
Oof, that hurts.
I mean, they're literally using statistics against them as a diss. And when you're faced against facts, you can't really say much back.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, that probably sits on the shoulders of Banana as well, who's kind of the item ace here for Finale. But we'll get to that. We're going to start things off with the speed tracks, and we're going to kick things off over on World Tour Boostwood.
And of course, there's the bands coming in from Finale onto Rickety Rails and Zigzag Timberland. Wow, I feel like Zigzag Timberland is a map that has been picked a lot by the teams rather than being banned.
Yeah, today it's just all these Wolves and Peters over on the stage avoiding that Zigzag Timberland. That's what I think.
I relate at least. Good job, Finale. Good choice there.
Now, if we do go to round 5, it is going to go over to World Tour Terracotta Twister, which we all know is just as tough of a track. I mean, especially because you can actually fall off. We saw it in the solo matches yesterday. Lots of players actually trying to get by, and then they eventually get knocked off in that indoor section. So we'll see if we get to that, but we're going to kick things off here in the speed match between these two teams. It's Finale Esports going up against Aura as we head into track number 1, World Tour Boostwood. And we're off. Now, 2 things I want to mention. First of all, the first time we're seeing Boostwood here in the KDL, but then also as I go on to say we don't see much speed reader cards in the speed mode, we're going to see it used by JiMin right away.
You're making me really excited for Boostwood. As you said, the first time ever. I love the aesthetics of the map so far, and it's a very wide map. There's a lot of room for the players. They're not really bunched up together, so we will see players starting to take a huge lead soon.
Now we'll see if they're able to keep that up. Now, yeah, I like that you mentioned it, right? All these tracks, they kind of have their own styles, and the big comparison is it more of a field type where you have wider sections of the track and it loops around, or is it one of those difficult ones where it's all narrow pathways and those hairpins? Now, Boostwood leaning a bit more towards the former than the latter.
And we have Noth right now leading the pack for Aura, looking really good on that 1-3-4-6, looking pretty unbeatable unless Temin can find a way to break through this window.
Yeah, you can see Temin just trying to get as close as possible. C's was trying to block him from taking that optimal corner there, and C's has been doing a relatively good job, but Temin should have an opportunity here to catch up to Nock, and actually Striker, he shoots all the way forward from 8th place, and he's now here to help Temin out.
Striker striking for the goal, but we have Aura still with that 1-2. Definitely going to be blocked out by Temin. It's going all over the place right now. Temin trying to take out Hero, but it is not going well for him so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's all alone, and C's is there to provide backup for Hero as well. He can either overtake that position himself or continue to sweep and just make sure Temin doesn't gain enough speed. I mean, he's trying to force a collision here as well, and also block Temin from getting the grabs. That's what it does. It forces him to greet it, and he's going to collide into the wall.
We have the 1-2 for Aura right now, and they're looking to maintain it coming into the final 50 meters.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a clean 1-2 finish, and Aura's taunt coming in handy, right? Striker sitting at 8th place. You have a striker, why can't you score a goal? Starting to sting a little bit.
Yeah, 8th place, that's definitely not the place you want to be to score a goal. I am sure that FNL definitely wants to see Striker in the higher positions, and I must say, what he's showing from Hero, this is the player that is the most highlighted potentially in Aura, and he showed up.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, actually just getting that last-second overtake on his teammate as well to enter in first place. Hero and Nock, they're going to get that 1-2 finish. That's as clean as it gets here for Team Mode Speed Races. And Aura kicking things off with a track win on the pick from FNL.
Great way to start on their first track. Of course, as you said, it was the pick from FNL. So now we're going to the pick from Aura.
Yeah, we'll see if they keep trading back and forth. And Nock with an excellent turn on the corner there as he fills up his boost while maintaining it. That way he can fill up that gauge. Meanwhile, the rest of the players kind of colliding. And that forced Striker to really kind of spin out there.
Yeah, Kart Rider Drift, it's actually a lot about boost management, not as much on just drift. And I really feel like our players are doing a great job getting those boost gauges filled up.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can continue that here as we go into track number 2. It's going to be Aura's pick as we head into Village Boom Hill Tunnel.
We begin our speed round number 2.
Yeah, so we were actually, the two of us, we were talking about, you know, trying to get better and better at Kart Rider Drift, and that right there, that's where you want to practice all your instant boosts, all right? You just run donuts around that lap for 3 hours each day, and eventually you'll get it.
3 hours. I don't know about that one.
That's what it takes, all right? You got to lab these games to get better, and obviously that's what these players have been doing. Now C's taking that first spot, but of course, I mean, this is a single lapper, and if everyone can just keep close right towards the end as we start to head towards some of those shortcuts, we could see some hard collisions and overtakes.
Collisions are happening right now. Hero was able to block out YuMin from taking any further lead. 3 members of FNL trying to catch up, but there's Hero blocking out so many of them.
I'm going to be very honest with you, Peter. It's already looking like there might be hope lost because Aura, not only are they far ahead, but the thing is, C's and Navi, they could already stack up their boost to a point where they saved a double team boost while staying in first and second place. They're already ahead in terms of drift and boost gauges, so there's not really much way for FNL to catch up, and even if they do, it's only going to be Striker.
Yeah, and there's only 1 lap, so there's not even a lot of time in favor for FNL. C's and Navi looking absolutely untouchable. Hero right now, he just needs to block out YuMin, and Striker, he is not even close to them.
No, yeah, there's no hope here. I mean, Aura, they've run away for free with another 1-2 finish. I mean, they're making this look easy against FNL.
1-2, 1-2, back-to-back. That is really, really rough right now for Finale. We talked about Finale being a team that has struggled so far here in the KDL preseason and here in match number 11. They are continuing to struggle in the speed mode.
Yeah, you know, the more I think about Aura's taunt, the harsher it gets, right? Because they're calling out Striker, they're calling out their item mode attacks, they're calling out the fact that they have 0 wins. I mean, this is just an attack on all fronts against Finale.
And you have to hope that Finale doesn't take a one-sided defeat here, because that's only going to rub it in further. Finale, they need to find a way to come back. As you said, Striker being a really key player for them. Yoon as well. I know he's done fantastic so far. I hope that these players will get to see them more in the front of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to. Again, item mode is not their strong suit, so hopefully they can bring things back here as we get ready for track number 3. They're already down 0-2. If they lose this next track, they're going to be going down 0-1 into item mode.
Look at that block.
Yeah, just, again, I mean, even when you're drifting, and this is where you see actually the real slight nuances that a lot of the pro players and veteran players can do, is while they're maintaining their speed and their drifts, they're still able to micromanage it in a way where they pre-position themselves to block each other out.
And we had a poor fan saying, Mr. CEO, please let Finale win one match today, please. Even the fans are so desperate. So I hope in this round number 3, they will be able to find that comeback angle. And the map we are going to be going to is going to be Glacier Extreme Stadium. This is a map with a lot of trickiness, so I hope Finale will find a way to make it work.
And they're off. We have to remember Finale, they won the coin toss and they chose speed mode priority, which is why they got that first pick on the boost wood, but they're already down 0-2. They might not even get a single team speed win today.
I'm sure they're very happy that at least on this match, it's a map or a track that they chose. We have actually Striker and Temin leading out very far, trying to go for that 1-2 comeback of their own.
Yeah, and while the members of Aura are trying to catch up, Vanilla's not too far behind, and Yoon as well. They're really catching up. They're not falling all behind, so that means they could play spoiler here against Aura. They could really fulfill that sweeping role here for Finale as they need it desperately.
Yoon definitely coming up strong, blocking out Navi as we see Nock and Hero still far ways behind Temin. This is the hairpin turns. Finale is executing them beautifully.
Yeah, and Hero as well. He's keeping up just now. Is he going to greed here on that jump? Right towards the end, not too much, but he's going to make sure he positions himself for that draft. Now cutting to make sure he can get the double speed boost, and he is in position to try to catch up. Now Taman might be able to run away, but Striker, he is falling behind in terms of the boost gauge that they've saved up, so Hero does have a chance.
Hero taking the tightest lines possible to make the comeback happen. There is Nock as well coming in, but Temin still firmly in position to block a Hero as needed.
Yeah, I mean, Temin, not only is he trying to block, he's also trying to deny that draft, and we haven't seen Hero be able to use it to overtake, but right on the corner, it's actually going to be Hero who makes sure that Finale is too concerned about blocking him that he's actually able to use the collisions they have against the wall. Now Hero's in prime position to overtake here in the last hairpins.
Hero trying to make the hero play, but there's that 1-2 position again for Striker and Temin. This is looking really close on the hairpin turns. Finale executing it beautifully. Can you find the angle, Hero?
Yeah, Temin uses double drift, but can he use it to keep up front? Hero actually misses the final jump, but it's going to be Aura that still gets in. Temin actually lost his speed as well. And Aura, they're going to win 20-19. They win the speed mode 3-0.
That looked like Finale show all along, but right at the end there, people were throwing their trump cards in, going for the collisions, trying to tackle people out. And for Aura, it did just enough.
Yeah, I mean, Hero, now he tries to take the tighter jump there at the end off of the drift. And Taman, to avoid the collisions there, just takes a wider turn, and that actually forces him to lose enough speed where Nock and C's are able to overtake him. And this is the thing that, unless you've really broken free, at the very end, the drafts can really come into play, right? One turn going too wide, and people could overtake you in an instant, and that's what happens. Aura takes it clean 3-0.
And you look at Aura, they're feeling pretty good about that win, flashing their signature card. And the smiles are around everyone except for Banana, of course.
Yeah, he's not too happy. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him now coming in as the item ace. He has to prove why he's on this team so that they can go to an ace match and try to get this desperate first win on the board.
So much pressure on the shoulders of Banana. This man has a lot to prove. So far, he has shown us great sportsmanship, but if he can show us the great skills in game to follow that, that's what really creates a superstar here in the esports scene. And I'm sure the fans here also cheering for Finale Esports are hoping that we go to an ace mode. And of course, there's a racer change for Aura as well. Tech coming in, replacing Navi.
Yeah, and I mean, Tech, he definitely proved his worth against Sensation, where he was able to bring the team a victory in the item mode so they could go to the ace match. We'll see if he's showing that same fortitude against Banana and Banana's teammates today. Now, for Banana individually as well, he already got knocked out of the round of 32 yesterday in the solo matches, so if he can't do something here to get them a win, it's going to be a kind of sad preseason one here for Banana.
Absolutely. As we take a look at the item track list, the bands coming out from Finale onto Mine Motherload, followed by Glacier Polar Half-Pipe. That's my favorite track. Why'd they do that?
Yeah, they're just getting rid of it, man. They don't want to see that. Get it out of here, Peter. We don't want to see your favorite track. But it's actually going to be World Tour London Night returning once again today. Second day in a row here, picked by Aura. And then we'll go through the rest of the maps as they trade off one by one. Now, you know, World Tour London Night, there's a couple things to consider here. There's a couple jumps that you'll have to be wary of. Of course, there are the actual moving obstacles on the track as well. But we'll see. I mean, yesterday we saw the boost, the Nitrous used to great efficiency towards the end. Curious to see if the teams utilize it again as they enter track number 1 in item mode. It's World Tour London Night. And we kick off item mode. You know, I've actually never been to London, so I don't know how accurate this track is, but I know the other ones like Boostwood and New York Rally are fairly accurate, so I gotta imagine it feels like I'm in London.
I mean, if this is London, what a beautiful place. The moon, it's just picture perfect.
Okay, well, okay, it might not be planet Earth, so we might have to remember that the weather may vary, your mileage may vary, but we're kicking off item mode. You know, again, a lot of these attacking items that can be blocked off by the shields, they're going to be cycled off. Now, there's two reasons to do that. Not only are you trying to select your own items, but ideally, if you can draw a shield out of your opponents, you know, that means they have to fish for another shield or an angel again.
Yeah, and Yun took a beautiful maneuver around the Ferris wheel. I usually always struggle on the Ferris wheel. I always bonk the metal
you
part.
bonked right into it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got to try to avoid it altogether, or obviously you can try to boost through it, but there are better places to use your boost, so we'll see if that comes into play here with the pros. But, you know, we do have to give credit to the pros. They are pros for a reason, right? We can't compare ourselves to them. They've been crafting this art for much longer than us.
Yes, and we see some of that craft coming in. A lot of magnet in the front, not very useful in the positions there. So we're going to see a lot of players with the magnets probably slow down and let other members get the lead.
Yeah, now Yoon holding on to that boost. We could see him use it right at the end here. He actually has double. I imagine he'll use one before the ending, but he might save that up. Now, right at the end, as he jumped over the wheel, there's a slight extra bump. As soon as you pass it, if you boost, you'll actually maintain your top speed for a bit longer than your opponent if you boosted earlier. See if that comes into play for Yoon.
Oh, another beautiful angel coming out to block out all bad things that can possibly happen to Aura. We have Yoon strongly in the lead. Hero trying to follow behind however he can.
Yeah, he uses a shield to avoid any damage coming off the jump. Now he's going to use his boost early to try to get ahead and avoid the magnets, and he does so successfully. Yoon is going to get in clean without any hassle as he enters first place.
It was absolutely squeaky clean. There was no crazy item mode nuances coming in. No comebacks. It's just first place takes the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of missed the exact last lineup of Arsenals, but I like it from Yoon, kind of recognizing that he's so far ahead by using that first boost a little bit earlier. He says, if I can actually just get straight far more ahead, the magnets won't, you know, do enough damage. I'll already be around the last bend where I won't run into too many collisions. I'll keep up my speed, and they actually will get slingshotted into the wall. And he's able to keep that lead, and now finally gets a track win. The first track win, actually, for Finale today.
Much needed for Finale. I'm sure Yoon is feeling really happy about that one. And I must say, Yoon, He had a 1.3 second lead over the second place, and that's huge in the pro scene because a lot of the times, the difference between rank 1 and 2, it can be a matter of like 0.001 second.
Yeah, I mean, especially in item mode where oftentimes we see everyone saving up, kind of their magnets and boost to all try to slingshot over each other. They kind of all crowd in at the last second. But here, Yun, he was way far ahead, away from the danger. We'll see if Finale can keep up that success and try to bring this to an ace match. As we go into Finale's pick here in the item mode, it's going to be Glacier Icebreaker Pass.
Here we go into round number 2 of item mode, and as you mentioned, Will, this is Finale's pick of a track, so I really hope that Finale will be able to secure a 2-0 for them here to at least build some lead, because I'm really starting to feel a bit bad for Finale.
I mean, yeah, let's be very honest. It's not that the individual players or such like that here were meant to be obviously last. I mean, they seem to have such potential. And even Banana, I mean, that was a player a lot of people were expecting to show some good play here in the item mode. And they showed a lot of chaos and aggression, but it didn't lead to any victories. See if they can keep it up. Now, earlier on that first lap, we saw Banana hanging back to make sure he got double items, used the boost to catch up. And then he had the Magnet and the Lightning Bolt, and it seems like he's keeping the aggressive items in store again.
Wow, Banana with the crazy strat. It really scares me, makes me anxious to see that lightning being held.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to use it as an ideal thing. Now, here's the thing. There's so many Angels on the side of Aura. There's still, 1.5 laps left. They're going to have to force Aura to cycle through these, and that's why we've seen the Lightning Bolt being used already. The Thunderbolt has been used. Now they can try to fish for more aggressive items once again.
But that Thunderbolt built a strong lead for Finale. Striker really far ahead. Aura members definitely going to use a Magnet when it's needed to catch up.
Yeah, Striker, you have to wonder, I mean, do you at some point use this boost to fish for another type of item here to try to make sure you're escaping the dangerous Magnet range here at the last end of the tunnel? Now, the tunnel, again, is quite narrow, where you could body block against it. Tech doing what he can to catch up. This is the item ace for Aura.
This is the last lap, and Tech definitely needs to step up. The ace himself speeding up right now ahead of Striker, getting a nice nitrous for himself that could come in really clutch.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're going to see Yun barely catch up. But Tech's the one with the Magnet, and now Yun trying to use that Banana. It's not going to work. Does bait out that Angel Tech. He's boosting forward with the Magnet. Yun trying to catch back up. The slingshot forward, and Striker, he's not able to do it. The UFO comes in at the end to pull him back.
What a fiasco we just witnessed, Will. That was so many things that happened in that small little tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see that every day, right? We don't see the UFO actually come in and clutch at the very last second, but it's used. And here's the thing, I mean, people were so packed that you had to have, the best awareness and comms to make sure you're using it against your opponents. Well, it is going to be used up. The UFO brings back Yun. Curious to see who actually it was thrown from. Curious to see who will get a replay from that. Hopefully, it was going to be this calculated move from Aura, but either way, they do get that track win.
Whoever it is, they earn Will's respect, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious. First of all, was it calculated or was it kind of a Hail Mary throw, right? Just because you saw so many players from Finale up front. Now, that was going to be tied up. Now, Yun holds on to, oh no, this is the first lap. Okay, so this was very early on. We get it here at the end. Banana used it.
Banana.
I think
himself.
Wait, no, that can't be. I caught it for a glimpse there, but I mean, yeah, I mean, if so, we'll have to wait and see for a slower replay. Now, unfortunately, Finale not able to continue it into a win streak here. They'll have to try to overtake the lead here as we get ready for track number 3 in item mode here in the KDL between Finale Esports and RO. Will be heading over to Desert Barrows Pass. And we kick off as Finale once again desperate to try to take this to an ace match so they can fight for a final win here in the round robin stage of the KDL Preseason 1.
Yep, we're seeing a lot of EMP waves at the front of the pack, quickly getting cycled through. Although we saw the UFO being so clutch in the previous match, usually it's not the case, so you definitely want to get rid of that. Double shields definitely looking a lot more useful for Yun. Knock, what are you doing, my guy? switching non-stop.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we see this in other esports too, right? Just trying to keep your hands warm, just constantly swapping back and forth. Now, in other versions as well, there have been other items, you know, in other universes of Kart Rider where sometimes that was going to come into play. Not at the moment for Kart Rider Drift, but maybe that habit also just carrying over from those other universes as well.
Definitely understandable. We can get all of it finger fidgety, but right now we have Knock and Tech sitting in that first and third place for Aura. Finale with Yoon and Banana there. This is only the second lap, but it is soon going to be the third lap.
Yep, and we already see the magnets being positioned here for the later half of the pack. They're trying to save those up for those last seconds. Now, Striker holding on to this precious Angel alongside Knock as well, one for each team. It's really going to come down to a battle of who can try to bait that out first.
Right, as we see players moving into that third lap. A lot of nitrous at the front of the line. There's only 3 Angels available in total, so we see things like Banana starting to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, just to buy a little bit of extra time as well. A couple more Angels in hand. Now Tech has those barricades. It is actually going to hit one of the members of Finale. Now Banana trying to catch back up, do what he can for his team. The Wisp goes out, but it's going to be blocked off. The missile will then go through, though. It's already drawn out one of the shields.
Definitely a great usage of the missile there as we see Knock and Tech leading the pack. Knock at the first place. Striker trying to come back, but the block coming out clutch from Knock.
Yeah, and there was no way. They already had just invested all their items before that last jump, where they didn't have any way to bring Knock down. And that means you just have to race speed for speed, and without any sort of drift gauges to gain your boost, you weren't going to overtake him at all.
Aura, they're having such a strong showing today against Finale Esports. They are now ahead 2-1 here in the item mode.
Yeah, I mean, Aura's looking strong, man, and Finale, I mean, you got to start, even if you don't have, you know, fandom for any team in the KDL, surely you start rooting for Finale now just as the underdog story, because they're about to go, you know, for another loss here. 0-3 potential record here in the round robin stage.
We must give our credits to Tech, though, on the team of Aura, because Tech has been known for his great item ace plays, and so far he's done just that. As we get ready to move on into track number 4. I am excited for this one. It's one of my favorites, Factory Cogwheel Crush. Kicking off round number 4. Here we go.
I'm just gonna see what the ideas are here for both teams. Of course, just a 2-lapper here in the item mode track of Cogwheel Crush. Just trying to cycle through again these aggressive items, try to see if you can either just, you know, gain a bit of a lead or, of course, draw out those precious shields. Not too many Angels being saved just yet. Just one on Tech, and he's already up front, so I think he'll be more than happy to save that for his team.
There's so many obstacles here. Not only do you have to watch out for each other's items, but you also have to watch out for the track itself. This is definitely a chaotic track, and I wonder how much more that will become in the final lap.
Yeah, now here's the thing. Banana, his position is going to be very important. He does have double boost, so he should always be able to stay relevant, but that's been one of the flaws of Finale. They can attack all they want, but if they're not in position to overtake after a successful attack, they're not going to be able to get the lead, and so now we'll see if Banana able to just stay relevant. Of course, Tech kind of correctly positioning himself in terms of the timing there for that little shortcut.
That shortcut is proving big for Aura right now as they have the 1-2 position moving on to the final lap. Banana taking the lead for Finale, but he is so far behind Tech right now.
Yeah, this is already quite far behind, and you still have 2 Angels on the side of Aura. Now Tech finally gets slowed down just a bit.
That water bomb was so clutch. That was a throw from far away, but it did just the job it needed. Tech trying to take the lead once again. Yeah,
he drops off to avoid the banana, then he gets hit by the UFO as well. So now this puts Finale Striker up front. He does have an Angel, and he has a Wisp for that last second attack if he needs it. We're going to see it cycled out right away.
Yoon and Striker and JiMin Finale looking so strong right now, and they have the Angels ready to go for Yoon. Tech coming up with the Nitrous as well.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Finale, you have everything in your arsenal to position yourselves for a win. You just have to keep the positions. Even if you fall into second place, you have the arsenal to overtake. Now, Taman's going to get pulled back by Tech on this magnet. They're both going to make the jump, and Tech actually takes the underpass. During this whole magnet battle up top, Seas just boosts forward.
You were saying Finale, they just had to keep their position, but Seas was able to find a way, just cruising past the members of Finale, bringing that much-needed victory to Aura.
And we've talked about this before. Sometimes all you have to do if you're up front is draw all this aggro, right? Which means one of your players who already is in position with either the magnets or the boost to shoot forward without any sort of opposition. That was the setup here for Aura as Seas shoots forward to bring home victory for Aura in a 2-0 fashion.
And it was so close. Banana getting that second place, only 0.1 second away. So what a clutch moment for Aura there. Definitely, if you're an Aura fan, you want to end the match there. You don't want to get risky and gamble it on an ace mode.
Yeah, so no ace match in this team match 11. And you got to feel for the Finale Esports Racers. They're currently down 0-3 in team matches, and it's only going to get harder from here as they try to face off against some of these other teams that are left.
Yeah, and we see some fans coming out for Tech. I've seen a lot of cheer pools for Tech today, and I'm sure the fans are impressed by his performance. Really regarded as one of the GOATs ever being existing for the Kart Rider item modes.
Yeah, and we saw, one of the cheerful signs from the team themselves. It actually says the aura of victory surrounds, the stadium today. And you know what? They did bring it home. Aura getting another win on the board here.
Yeah, they look super happy, satisfied with the performance. It was not back and forth. It was very, very much in favor of Aura as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, I mean, some good attacks, honestly. Some great water bombs, towards the first portion. Oh, Striker actually getting denied so much. We totally missed that during the live play. But yeah, this was the water bomb you were talking about where it actually gets Tech accurately. Now here at the end, all these magnets being focused on Tech. That means Seas can get by for free as everyone collides into each other up top. I mean, what a great play from Tech, right? Drawing the aggro and making sure that everyone collides into him as well.
For sure, my eyes were also on Tech, and Seas used that opportunity beautifully, securing his team that set 2 win. 3-1, and set 1 in speed mode was even more brutal. It was 3-0.
Yeah, a dominant win for sure. There's no other way to put it as Aura takes another win to put them up on the leaderboards. Finale, they are now continuing to sit dead last with 0 match wins.
Man, when you say dead last, I feel like that really just
You know what?
sets
I
it in
don't
stone.
hold back. I don't care if it's the preseason. I say it like it is, all right? I'm paid money to tell the truth, Peter, and Finale's a dead last.
Man.
I do feel bad for them, but and it's not to say that there is no hope or whatnot. Again, I think the important thing is we are in the preseason, right? I mean, the whole purpose here is to use this opportunity to continue to improve, to grow. I mean, this is giving you some live match experience and figure out what works for your roster. And Finale, I mean, they have a lot of homework.
Yeah, Aura and ROX off of today's wins, moving up to that rank 3 and 4 position. Their round win difference is quite huge, though.
Yeah, Aura actually in a hefty +9. I mean, if they can keep this up, they might even be able to overtake the Guangdong Freaks at some point. Meanwhile, ROX, I mean, you can tell that their wins have been very close. I mean, they're actually -2 in terms of rounds, so we'll see if they can keep that up just to stay in the top 4 and try to get into that tournament stage of the team matches.
And there's that cheerful again that you mentioned. Can't you feel the aura? And honestly, I have felt it here today for sure. So far in the preseason of KDL, I feel like Aura had so many tight, clutch comeback item mode matches, but today, that wasn't even needed. Today was more about being composed, consistent, and they absolutely delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole racer squad of Aura looking very promising. I mean, again, no surprise, right? The individual names, they hold their own weight. But for them to come together like this under this new banner of Aura to try to compete against some of these potential pro teams here at the KDL, it's very interesting to see.
Yeah, and I must say, though, this is definitely a brutal moment right now for Finale because they, as we said earlier, this was 3 amateur teams that they went against and 3 amateur teams that they lost to. And then you look at your other opponents, Guangdong Freaks, Live Sandbox. Like,
Yeah,
how do you make the story make
yeah,
sense?
they're just saving it for Live Sandbox. That's no, that's not the story we're gonna go with. I mean, here's the thing. I think they're just gonna have to go back to the drawing board a bit, right? I mean, for one, their item mode, which we saw today, they weren't trying to be as chaotic. It looks like they were trying to, save up for that last push and position themselves for it, both in terms of racing position and arsenal. It doesn't quite work out. But again, the big thing is for instance, we saw it there on Cogwheel Crush. They were so focused on just overtaking that first place that they completely missed the mark on C's potentially just driving right by everybody. And it's things like this where if you tunnel vision too much, especially I think in item mode, you're going to lose track of who might be able to, who could have potential other items that overtakes you at the end.
Yeah, and I feel like it is definitely easier said than done, though, because
sure.
of the amount of members and that they can have 2 items each. It can be really hectic to keep a track of the items that each player has. Not only that, the players actually have to calculate how those items integrate with each other, and I don't know how these pro teams do it, honestly.
I mean, lots of comms, lots of comms. I mean, I'm sure. I'm curious to see what the comms sound like actually in one of these item mode matches here at the KDL. I think that would be very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing, right? Is obviously we can see everything. We're tracking everything the whole time. But for them, it's purely off of what they're communicating to each other about, what you're seeing in front of you. Obviously, you can see the standings of who's in which place. But in terms of also what do I have, what do you have, you could check it. But I think communicating that live to each other is going to be much quicker than everyone always having to kind of side-eye the scoreboard there to see what your teammates have in terms of their item arsenal.
You really got me wondering about the comms now, what it sounds like. Banana deployed. Water bomb angle. Inbound. Dodge. Move to the right. Barriers coming up.
I guarantee you it sounds nothing like that. Because first of all, that's very slow. So probably not something like that. But I am curious. So maybe one of these days, one of the teams will give us a little insight. Obviously, we've seen that done in various genres as well as some extra content, just a little peek inside what it's like to play one of these matches. Even the speed mode, right? I mean, even speed mode, I'm sure there's a lot of comms being told on, I can do this. I'm in position to do this. I can, keep this guy at, away from this place. Or, sometimes we even see teams, they'll confidently call like, okay, like that player's in dead last. There's no way they're getting back. So now all we have to do is hold, A, B, C, and D position, things like that. So again, a lot more goes into this than what we're seeing because we're kind of watching it comfortably at home. But ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're getting ready to go to a break. That's it for team matches today, but don't go anywhere because when we return, we're going to have solo match Group D of the round of 32. Welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready for our last group in the round of 32 for solo matches here at the Kart Rider Drift League.
It's your first solo match ever, Will.
It is, yeah. I'm excited for it. I mean, you know, obviously there is an element that's kind of unique to the team matches, but for solo matches, everyone is on their own. No team boosts, all your own to fill up your gauges. And this is the format, and the easiest way to explain this would simply be the round of 32. We have 4 groups. The top 4 move on. The bottom 4 is eliminated. After that, it turns into a double elimination format. If you stay in the top 4, you'll eventually make it to the final 8, where that will be the finals. Otherwise, you'll have to go through, you know, another round of losers matches and the potential final match.
Not only that, if you become the champion, there's a nice hefty pool of prize money, 10 million Korean won, followed by a bit less for the following places.
Yeah, but of course, you know, this being solos, that means you get to keep that for yourself. Now, the other thing to note about the prize money there would mean that you do have to get into the finals to take any share of that. Now, here are the results so far in the round of 32 bracket. We've already gone from A through C. That happened yesterday. And then today will be Group D. Only 4 more players will be entering the round of 16.
And so far, there has been a lot of upsets. You know, players like Hojin, we didn't really expect to see him drop so early, so we're expecting some really crazy results from Group D as well. I wonder, you know, players like Speed, who has been noted for being a really good player that adapted to the Kart Rider Drift, how will he do?
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of funny that you called out Hojin, of course, as such a legend within Kart Rider, but also just the rest of Sensation, right? 3 out of the 4 players have been knocked out. None of them made it to the round of 16. Only one of them remains here in Group D. We'll see if they can kind of keep the name of Sensation alive. But at the end of the day, you're also fighting for your own reputation here in the solo match.
And this is the best place to shine because you are not hidden behind a team. It is all about you and all about the speed, as we have our first player of the day, MINSIK from Group D.
Yeah, just saying it all. I'll try to get an interview here in the solo matches as well, trying to prove that he's going to get that top spot to be the one who holds that interview here after the round of 32.
Yeah, very humble way to put it, but he is definitely set on getting that spot in the top 4. Of course, we have Ding, who is not as humble.
Yeah, now I do have to say in that ace match against Jung, he didn't look, you know, he made a slight mistake and then he just could not catch up. Now, some people are saying the fact that he even got close to catching up proves that overall his racing itself is fine, but he did make that one crucial mistake, and when you're playing solo, there's 7 other racers that could come to bite you.
And here's another racer that could definitely bite things, but here is JiMin.
Yeah, JiMin, of course, coming in as the item ace over on Sandbox, so we'll see if he can prove himself here in solos as well. I mean, in general, people expect his racing skills to carry him into the round of 16.
Here we have AcidFly, who we got to see compete earlier today, and AcidFly, he is such a good runner, and coming into the group solo matches, I wonder how much he's going to take that solo running speed potential.
Yeah, AcidFly, one of the players that it's their first time entering solos here, now coming into Kart Rider Drift League, so see if he can handle that pressure. Of course, he's going up against the likes of Speed. Now again, this is that last remaining player from Sensation that is surviving so far here in the solo match.
Speed, he definitely wants to go home in a good mood, meaning not eliminated, so I wish the best for Speed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him, both for himself and, of course, his teammates. And it's going to be Spell, the only player from ROX competing in the solo matches. I mean, kind of in a similar boat as Speed.
He is the only one, but that also means he's the one that can bring all the glory to the team ROX, boosting his reputation as well as the team. So I'm excited to see Spell compete today.
Yeah, and YuMin, an interesting player here, the only player here in Group D who has only entered solos, not on a team here for the team matches, just going to try to prove himself in the solos. Now, of course, if he can prove himself and make it to the round of 16, teams might start eyeing him for their roster as well.
Yeah, there's another player, Perfect, who also is in the same boat, but he made it to the best of 16, so I hope to see that from YuMin as well. Of course, we have Vanilla. People say you can't beat those who enjoy it. I will have fun while destroying everything.
A lot of players seem to like to use some of these quotes. I mean, it's good to see, trying to gain some inspiration. Now, Vanilla, entered the Kart Rider League last year in Season 1, and then that was his only showing, so we'll see if he can try to prove himself here in the Kart Rider Drift League.
I hope so, Will. I want to see these players perform at their absolute top form today, because this is going to be 8 players all just alone. No team to rely on, no sweeping. Village Boom Mill Tunnel will be our track number 1.
And we're off, kicking off solo match now for the round of 32 in Group D. Now, just to explain for any of the newer viewers how solo matches work, is it's the first player to hit point of 50 points. If you can get 50 points based on your standings of each track, then the solo match will end, and the top 4 at that current standing will move on to the round of 16.
And look at these tight lines that were being hugged by Speed, Spell, and Ding. They were just absolutely holding that all the way down, and their positions haven't changed at all.
Yeah, I mean, Speed just trying to stay ahead. Now, Spell's giving him trouble. Now, the other reason you're going to want to vie for first is then you get track selection for that next track, so that's a huge benefit. But some players in the past have been happy to just always stay in top 3, right? Always get these high points, so that eventually they'll actually average out to 50 points first.
YuMin spinning out of control. He bumped the walls like 3 times there, back and forth.
Yeah, just a little ping-ponging back and forth, but he's able to still catch right back up. Now everyone on similar boost gauges, it looks like, based on what they've saved up. Speed looks like he should be fine unless he hits a little bump here on the shortcut, but he's got to clear it just fine on the first one. Spell should be happy to just take second, because it's not going to look like he has another chance to overtake Speed in the last 300 meters.
Speed is way too speedy for Spell right now. Spell definitely just going to go ahead and lock in that second place, followed by AcidFly, JiMin coming in to lock in their top 4.
Okay, so Speed kicking things off with an easy 10 points. That's what you get for being in first place. And of course, if you can keep that up, we might have a very, very quick solo match today. I mean, Speed, you're playing not only for yourself, but again, for Sensation to have some representation here in solo matches.
And Spell coming in at that second place is going to secure himself 7 points. So Speed already has built himself a 3-point advantage. And previously in the Speed Mode solos, we've seen an instance where players won just by 1 point. So these points are absolutely pivotal.
Yeah, and of course, if you get that last place, you actually get -1 point. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I mean, you know, you could be doing very well at the last minute. You lose, you know, maybe you get 8th place on the last track, and it forces you down a couple spots. I mean, if you're not in first place, maybe you even get knocked out of the top 4. It's going to be curious, but Speed is going to select Mine Winding Slopes as our next track. Another very difficult track to try to keep that lead here in the solo matches.
Kicking off our round number 2 of solo match. Of course, a favorite track for me and Wolf. Players will have a lot of room to be drifting around.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep it, of course. I mean, early on, you already see these kind of hairpins with a very narrow space here in that alley to overtake. So really here, it's just about making sure you keep up that speed and you don't really lose too much. Of course, a couple bumps, but Speed's going to get that draft right away to catch up. Now here's the first big jump. Try to keep the optimal line here as he crosses that bridge. And we're going to see a couple players actually fall behind, hit a couple of those poles.
Dang, with the huge collision, he fell behind all the way, and now it's just JiMin, Speed, and MINSIK, and they are colliding too.
Yeah, at Speed, I mean, he was definitely trying to prioritize making sure you can get that shortcut safely as well. Sometimes you take a little bit of a loss to get 2 steps ahead. Now entering this tunnel with all the pipes, obviously most players, they memorize the exact location, so there shouldn't be any collisions. But is there a chance to overtake? It doesn't look like it, all of them prime position to enter these shortcuts.
This is a narrow path right now. JiMin looking like he is almost uncontestable, blocking out MINSIK successfully.
Oh!
Wow, Speed!
Yeah, Speed tries to green around that final hairpin just to stay in 3rd place, but he's actually going to hit a wall and get bumped all the way down to 5th place. Meanwhile, MINSIK versus JiMin, the last jump, but MINSIK's in a much better position. JiMin just trying to position to make sure he doesn't get knocked further behind, and MINSIK will be taking 1st place.
And they're staying in. Speed coming in for that 3rd and 4th place finish. Coming in okay, I would say, for Speed. Previously, he got the 1st place, so he's already had a nice lead. I feel like coming in 4th is a pretty consistent result so far.
Yeah, I mean, overall, if you're Speed, you're doing just okay, right? Especially because you also have to consider who got first place afterwards. It's actually MINSIK, who had 0 points, so he's only going to be sitting at that 10-point total score. Meanwhile, everyone else kind of averaging out, and Speed should be comfortably up front as well.
What a comeback for MINSIK. Previously in round number 1, he secured himself 7th place, but now with that first place, he's moved up to 3rd place, tied with Spell.
Yeah, I mean, curious to see if this keeps up here. I mean, Speed, can he keep up the lead? Again, you get first place just a couple times, and then you're able to just kind of cruise through, just get the podium finishes, you know, even just top 4, and you'll be able to eventually hit 50 points first.
50 points is definitely the goal for all these players. They want to hit that first because the second a player hits it, everyone else, their results get tallied. There's no more chances whatsoever.
All right, curious to see MINSIK what his choice of track is going to be here for track number 3. All right, we're heading over to another new theme here for the solo matches as we continue on to track 3. MINSIK's pick is going to be Glacier Extreme Stadium. And we're off. See if Speed or MINSIK can try to keep this lead to make sure they assert their dominance in terms of the points as well.
The bodies, they were all touching each other, I swear, all 8 players, but now DDing is building himself a lead along with Vanilla and Spell. We can see at the back here, MINSIK really far behind.
Yeah, and Speed as well. He's now trying to catch up here in the tunnel. He is going to enter that middle of the pack, and everyone's still close enough. I mean, with this much distance, over on the last hairpins, you should have a chance to overtake. If not, you know, going into that second lap. Okay, just trying to block for, you know, against each other as well, trying to make sure they stay ahead. Now, you got to remember, when it's solos, you're up against everybody else. I mean, you could very well get collisions that were never intended to happen.
And in the top 4 coming into the hairpin spins. It's going to be DDing and Spell, Speed, and Vanilla. The top 3.
Oh, Speed! He tries too much to try to cut that jump close, and he's going to get knocked all the way back. He's now sitting comfortably in 5th place. Not anywhere in sight here on the mini-map, and it's now just a 1v1 battle between Spell and DDing.
This is a huge opportunity for Spell and DDing. DDing trying to take the tighter lines, but they are taking the same path right now. Looking for the drafting angle. DDing does manage to take the lead.
Yeah, I mean, between these 2 players, it's really just about who gets the track selection on the next one. We saw it on the overall minimap there in the bottom right corner earlier. It seems like the front of the pack, the top 4, are well ahead from the rest. We don't even see them in the in-game minimap, so it's really about DDing versus Spell, and then JiMin versus MINSIK. If MINSIK can get into the top 3, he's going to be able to break into that first place in terms of points.
Unfortunately, MINSIK got dragged by the wall. Now he's sitting far behind in 4th place, but Spell gets bopped as well. Now MINSIK coming in strong at the 2nd place.
Oh, and Speed actually shoots all the way forward, uses this opportunity. He's now in 2nd place, no one to collide with him. He's got both boosts lined up. He should be fine. Now Spell just trying to catch up. Can he get on the podium as well to get a couple extra points? It's DDing, Speed, and then it should be Spell coming in 3rd place.
Wow, that was a crazy race. I feel like a lot of players were dropping back and forth. The ranks were absolutely fluctuating.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, especially because we thought Speed was going to just sit in 5th place for the longest time, but he actually shoots all the way back forward.
And we see right now, of course, Speed, he was previously the leader with 14 points at rank 1, coming in at a 2nd place finish here in round number 3 is going to be a really good position for him. Of course, DDing now being able to pick the next track.
Yeah, we'll see. DDing, can he continue to try to climb up? He's in the middle of the pack, so he's sitting okay. Meanwhile, AcidFly, Vanilla, and YuMin, they do need a little bit of extra work here.
A little bit, maybe a lot.
You know what, it is a lot, yeah. But here's the thing, they just have to enter the top 4, right, to move on to the round of 16. I mean, you don't have to necessarily be the first one to get 50 points. You only have to do that in the finals. You don't have to do that to move on in the tournament. So curious to see if they're able to average out. Now DDing, he's going to continue the Glacier theme here for us as we get ready for track number 4. It's going to be Glacier Snowbound Slopes.
We're off. We have Spell, AcidFly, and YuMin leading out the pack, going for the cuts to build themselves a nice lead on that boost gauge, and it's going well so far because now on this drift here, they will be able to boost forward.
Yeah, Spell just trying to keep that lead. Now, we saw this yesterday in the solo mode as well. Right here on these slopes, the downward slopes and the hairpins. Once you get a lead, I mean, you're going to sit fairly comfortable. It's quite narrow. There's not too many easy ways to overtake each other without taking some big risks. But afterwards, it's about who's able to maintain their speed as much as possible as they're cutting on these downward slopes, as they're trying to drift around and just make sure they manage their boost gauge.
JiMin looking really strong at the front of the pack. Speed and Spell following right behind. They are taking the tightest lines, but Speed manages to block out Spell, proving more distance between JiMin and the rest.
Yeah, we're still fairly bunched up now. See if anyone takes the riskier lines here towards the center. All just trying to cut around, and they're actually just trying to eye for each other, see if anyone greens it. And AcidFly, by simply not doing anything, is able to get in front as some of his opponents hit the trees.
It's funny how that works. Sometimes you just don't greed and play the classic, most optimal line, and it works.
Yeah, of course, now everyone taking that little ski lift, and things somewhat reset. Of course, it's still in order of entering, so you're going to start in those same positions, but it is a prime opportunity for you to catch up depending on how you saved up your boost gauges.
And I must shout out Speed right now for his consistency. He is sitting at rank 1 once again, and he is rank 1 of the group overall. If he keeps getting points at this rate, we might not have too many tracks left because 50 points are starting to get close to.
Yeah, and this was one of the things that a lot of people predicted for Group D today, is that you have a couple of these players, it's their first time entering the solo mode, but if you have some veterans who are able to just shoot forward, or people who have just really grinded it for solo mode, they might actually just get the 50 points first and finish it before you have a chance to enter the top 4.
Speaking of veterans, we have Speed and JiMin neck to neck right now, but Speed has the lead. JiMin looking for the outer angle, trying to take over. However, Speed is relentless, not giving up any possible chance. JiMin with the tiny collision on the wall there is now going to fall behind.
Okay, JiMin, you have to kind of keep a cool head and think about, okay, maybe I just try to fight for second place, because by trying to greed, you've actually lost enough speed that Vanilla is starting to catch up. That means you get less points. You have to make sure that you're sitting comfortable. You already have 15 points on the board. You're tied with Spell. If you can enter in second place, no, he's going to lose it out to Vanilla. But what's important is his opponent, Spell, who was tied with 15 points, has gotten a much lower standing, so it's going to be an okay finish for JiMin.
That is going to be so disastrous because Spell, although he was in second place overall, he was only 1 point away from 4th place, and you have to be top 4 to not be eliminated.
Yeah, again, sometimes, you know, obviously we'll kind of focus on who's close to 50 points just so we know when it finishes, but at a certain point it actually starts to matter about, you know, what do the 3rd, 4th, 5th place look like, right? How are their finishes going to matter in terms of who actually moves on to the round of 16?
YuMin getting a nice lead for himself there in this round. However, overall, he was quite far behind, so he's still at that 8th place. But in the top 4, we have Speed, JiMin, Spell, and DDing. He is 5 points ahead of rank 5 in MINSIK. MINSIK has a lot of work to do with Vanilla.
Yeah, and meanwhile, YuMin, of course, kind of only entering the solo mode today, but if he can't start to get, you know, some of these first places, let's be very honest, he's not going to be able to climb into the top 4, so his career here, the preseason 1 of KDL, may end a little bit earlier. Now we're waiting to find out what the next selection is going to be from Speed. This is already his 2nd selection here.
Yeah, I mean, Speed is basically getting all the advantage for himself, but he absolutely earned it by getting that 1st place position. So far, I'm really worried for AcidFly because this is a player that we know is great at being a runner. However, he is sitting at 7th place in 8 points. He is about 7 points away from being top 4.
Yeah, I mean, again, a long ways ahead for him, but, you know, sometimes if, you know, for instance, Speed doesn't get the first places anymore, it's going to slow down, it's going to give you a couple extra tracks to work forward and try to enter that top 4. Speed this time is going to change themes for us. We're switching back over to the Mine theme. It's going to be Mine Gold Rush. And they're off. Speed just trying to finish the solo match as fast as possible. He currently has 31 points, 2 more first places, and we could be seeing the end of today's solo match.
Speed really making sure that his opponents are feeling the pressure. We have YuMin and JiMin and DDing trying to come up in that 2-3-4. However, Speed he has been relentless so far, but he does manage to fall back now.
Yeah, I mean, Ding was also trying to greed for that inside line there on that last corner, so Speed just making way, doesn't want to risk anything too much. Same thing for Ding, and now they're sitting comfortably in first and second place. Now, to be very honest, for Speed, it's not the end of the world if Ding gets first place, right? He's sitting at 15 points, he's 16 points behind. You'll be okay with that second place finish, but obviously that does mean you'll have to play at least one extra track.
We do have AcidFly trying to recover. He's sitting at that top 3 spot. As we see, these 3 are so close in each other's line, you could almost not see each other's body. Speed about to lock in that first place once again, going into lap number 2.
Yeah, and JiMin actually took a great inside corner there, and he's just trying to cut as safely as possible without colliding too much, see if he can overtake the front of the pack here. My eyes are on JiMin as he shoots forward into third place. The Observer now following forward with us as he tries to make sure, can he get the optimal course here on the inside. AcidFly's trying to block it, but JiMin just hugs the wall as closely as possible, continuing the double boost so he constantly fills up his gauge as well.
JiMin hugging that line all the way down was so good, but he does fall behind now as we see Speed, MINSIK, and Ding coming up again. These 3 players have been so consistently contesting that top 3, and their drifts are beautiful. They are not giving it up.
Yeah, Speed choosing not to take the risk there on that second corner, just takes a bit of a wider drift, but he is keeping up in terms of the boost against the other 2 players. Can he finish him first? Because that means we might only be 1 track away, and Speed is going to enter. He gets 10 extra points and now sitting at 41.
Man, Speed is absolutely out of his mind right now. Somebody needs to put a leash on this guy because we had Ding, MINSIK, and JiMin coming in at 2, 3, 4, but it doesn't really matter because Speed is the guy that everyone right now needs to be wary of. We need to start seeing strats potentially, people intentionally body blocking Speed just to buy more rounds for themselves.
I mean, yeah, we could see that happen, right? I mean, we'll see. But again, I mean, you have to consider, for instance, you know, for the likes of Ding or JiMin, you're also already in the top 4. You're fairly ahead of the rest of the pack. So maybe you're saying, okay, I mean, if Speed's in first place, maybe I don't greet it, right? You know, Speed just gets first place. If I'm second, whatever, I'll still move on to the round of 16. There's a lot to consider here. And I just got to say, Peter, some might say Speed is a speed demon.
Speed demon.
Yeah, I just want to get that out of my head.
Nothing I can say against that. This guy is absolutely a demon, a god, you name it. And I must say though, the 3, 4, 5 position is not too far apart. It's Ding, Spell, MINSIK, 22, 18, 15. This match will be really deciding as we get ready to move on into round number 6. It will be held in Desert Ancient Aqueducts. And the race begins. We have YuMin at the front of the pack.
Yeah, and now we just got to remember, if Speed finishes first, the solo match is over for the day. We will take the top 4 players in total points at that time, and they will move on to the round of 16. Currently, it's going very likely for Speed, JiMin, Ding, and then the rest, it could kind of bounce back and forth. Of course, Spell currently in 4th place with 18 points.
Speed being in first place spells bad news for a lot of the players here because 10 points means it is 51 points total, meaning this is the final track. YuMin and Ding, they definitely don't want that happening. You see the players coming in, taking the tight lines, trying to get the drifts in, going for the optimal boost gauge increase, and so far, Speed uncontested.
Yeah, I mean, for the likes of players like YuMin and Vanilla, obviously you just want to overtake Speed so he doesn't get first place, so you buy more time for more tracks. But then you think about the likes of MINSIK, it might just come down to making sure that you're well ahead of Spell so that you actually break into the top 4 over Spell.
A lot of interesting strategies that our players are opting for, but we are now in the final lap. YuMin being able to cut out Speed, that's really all that needs to happen. Speed just needs to be not in first place for us to have another track.
Yeah, and if it goes this way right now, MINSIK's sitting at 8th place, so he doesn't have any hope of entering the top 4. Now, of course, if YuMin finishes first, or in fact, anybody but Speed, we will get more opportunities. So MINSIK perhaps a little bit happy right now, despite being in 8th place, and he's gonna have yet another track potentially, but Speed gets right back into first place.
Oh no, YuMin, he hit the wall and he fell behind quite a bit, but he does manage to recover a bit. Now Speed once again, sitting at first place. JiMin trying to be the hero to save other players' lives, blocking Speed from advancing.
Yeah, I mean, of course, JiMin also just playing for his own rapport as well, but now that does mean that despite extended JiMin trying to block him, he just wants to make sure he gets first place. JiMin wants more first places under his belt, and he's going to deny that first place. In fact, it's going to be JiMin and YuMin coming in the 1-2 position.
Hero JiMin saves the day. I cannot count even on my one hand how many times he blocked out Speed in that final lap. It seemed like Speed was trying to take a bit more of an outward angle, but even that was blocked out beautifully by JiMin.
Yeah, I mean, I think right there what JiMin did more than anything was prove that he's just as great of a speed racer, right? I mean, the way he was utilizing not only his own race and his speed, but the way he was positioning, like you said, the way he was kind of playing these physical skirmishes allows him to stay strongly in second place and now extend this solo match. Now for JiMin, the positive sign is now he's really increased that gap between him and Ding into 8 points. So no matter how this race ends, he should sit fairly comfortably in the top 4.
The bad news on the other side is the gap between rank 4 and 5 has significantly increased. Spell at 21 points, 7 points ahead of MINSIK, who's at 14 points. This is looking tough.
All right, well, JiMin's pick is going to be World Tour Terracotta Twist. We'll see if he can keep this up or his speed is finally going to end this speed match. And we're off. Now Speed only has to finish in the top 4 to reach the 50 points needed to end the speed match here for the round of 32 Group D.
It was so hard to keep Speed out of that first place position. How much harder is it going to be to keep him out of top 4? But so far, Vanilla and MINSIK taking the beautiful drifts, the most optimal lines possible. They are not losing any momentum so far.
Yeah, we'll see Speed again, just a top 4 finish needed, and then he'll be the first to reach 50. Meanwhile, no one else able to reach 50 just yet. JiMin is closest at 34, but he's going to need at least 2 tracks to do so. But again, that's only if Speed doesn't finish in the top 4, which currently it looks like he has no intention of letting happen. He's actually going to overtake on these difficult twists and turns. He actually jumps right over the edge of some of those corners without dropping, and he's able to take first place so far.
Speed, this guy, he was unfazed by the trickiest part of Terracotta Twister, still locking in that top 2 spot for himself coming into this lap number 2. JiMin and Ding, they're doing great, but it doesn't matter if Speed is just going to be speeding across.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we have to start to consider the implications here. Currently, the point standings are Speed, JiMin, Ding, and Spell, and there is no way for Spell to be knocked out if he's in the top 4 as well. He would have to finish 8th, while MINSIK finishes in the top, 1-2 position for him to be overtaken here going into this last lap. I mean, we might just see everything finish as is right now for this round of 32.
As is the story that we're looking at currently. Speed sitting in that ranked position. This is the last chance for players to have some big fluctuation in the rankings. You want to go for a risky body block and maybe try to boop someone off.
Oh, and we are actually going to see Speed get knocked down. He was trying to play it as safely as possible. Can he get into the top 4 to finish this race? He's, no! He tries to jump right across at the end.
Speed.
And yet another chance bought. In fact, potentially 2 more chances because Speed finishes in 8th place. That's a -1 point. It's a -1.
This is going crazy. I mean, Speed was doing so great, but finally at that tricky part of the Terracotta Twister, Speed getting the bad end of that one.
Wow, I actually am so impressed because Speed was even trying to play it somewhat safe there on those last corners. You could tell he had no intention of greeting to keep first place. He just wanted to get by without falling off. And everyone else said, nope, we're in a rush. We have to go through whether you're in our way or not.
Wow.
He gets knocked off twice, once in, into the pit, once into the wall. And now he loses a point. He's sitting at 45.
You have to wonder, JiMin and Ding, they're not too far behind. JiMin, for instance, at rank 2, only 6 points behind. If Speed manages to hiccup like that again, things could change.
Very well, right? I mean, if JiMin finishes first, and then we see Speed end in 4th or worse, JiMin's either going to tie him or overtake him for a potential first place finish. Now we are going to see the next pick from Ding. It's going to be Desert Construction Chaos as we continue on to track number 8.
Track number 8 begins. You have to keep in mind that Speed, last time he had to be in the top 4, but this time he has to be in the top 3, so the task became harder and he's in 8th place right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, every extra track Speed is potentially losing the chance to get interviewed here. Now, I don't think there's a good chance for him to be knocked out of the top 4 already with 45 points unless he, you know, continues to hit 8th place and loses points. But obviously, you know, kind of entering into the round of 16 as first place from your group in the round of 32, that holds a lot of weight as well for your own personal record.
Yeah, there's the prize money as well, and of course right now a lot of pressure being built on this top 4. Body blocks happening everywhere, and players are getting tackled out left and right. You look at Vanilla. Yeah,
Vanilla's just bouncing around. Meanwhile, Ding, no opposition. He's able to just take a very safe full drifts around each corner. He's gonna just be able to boost right through here, just taking the straightaway on the zigzag as well. And AcidFly, he's doing what he can to contest. Now, AcidFly has a long way to go if he wants to enter the top 4, so he's desperate for a 1 or 2 finish.
Meanwhile, Ding, he is sitting 3rd place overall, so Ding definitely has a chance to grab himself the 1st place finish potentially if he can keep up this lead, moving into lap number 2.
Yeah, again, I mean, Speed is at 8th place, so it does not look like we're going to finish anytime soon. Looks like we're going to have at least 1 extra track. Now, Ding saying, you know what, I'll take matters into my own hand. If he finishes first here, he'll enter 46 points, and then he just has to get into the top 4 to finish the solo matches.
Man, Speed is really dragging this one this time, sitting at 7th place, giving a really easy room right now for the top 5. There's MINSIK and JiMin getting blocked out. You know, Ding and JiMin, these 2 players are definitely trying to keep up at the front.
Yeah, JiMin, you can kind of tell it in the way he's driving right now that he wants to fight for that 1st place, or at least just try to get ahead in points so he can actually be the one who gets interviewed here in the Group D of the round of 32. Now, he's in position. He's going to slow down just a bit to make sure he doesn't collide into the corners, make sure he at least gets that top 3 finish.
Collision would definitely be a bad news here. Near the end, only 500 meters
Speed,
left.
He's trying to overtake. He's already entered here in the middle of the pack. He's been able to try to speed through that zigzag, but it's not going to be in the top 3. He sits at 49 points, and
49.
we still go 1 extra track.
1 point difference. Earlier, we emphasized the importance of just saying 3 points, how much lead that can build you, and now we're here. Speed having to go another match just because he's 1 point behind 50.
Yeah, now here's the thing. For the players who have been much further behind, you know, the likes of AcidFly, MINSIK, YuMin, and Vanilla, things are not looking too good. There's so many ways this can end on the next track. Ding is now sitting at 46 points, Speed at 49. I mean, Speed literally just has to enter the top 6 to enter 50 points. Meanwhile, JiMin and Ding actually sitting at 46 points. So, you know, JiMin and Ding, if either of them enter top 4, or if Speed is in the top 6, the solo matches for the day will end.
Yeah, I mean, 1 player, that's all it takes to reach 50 points, and then the points will be tallied, and it'll be just based on who has the overall highest points.
Of
so,
course.
for instance, 55 points, if that's the highest, that is going to be the 1st place. So this last track is so important.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see who takes that glory. Well, this time we are going to be taken to a factory-themed map for today's solo matches. It's going to be Factory Facility 5. And we're off in what most likely will be the last track of the night, as 3 players are in prime position to enter the 50-point mark and finish today's solo matches.
The top 3 players, Ding, Speed, and JiMin, these 3 players are absolutely competing for that top 1 finish spot today. This is only a 1-lapper, so no mistakes can be made. YuMin dropping. Fortunately, he's not competing for top 1.
Yeah, he's not anywhere close to that, and quite frankly, I would actually have to run the math a little bit here, right? No one, by the way, no one taking the crazy Neo builds there just to overtake anybody, but I actually think this almost ends no matter what. I mean, 3 of these players, 2 of them just have to enter top 4, 1 of them just has to enter top 6. The stats really say that it's going to be very tough for all of them to enter in like 6th, 7th, and 8th place.
And speaking of stats, Speed, Demon, or Ding, and JiMin all in top 4 right now. Ding has that slight advantage over Speed, but Speed is a player that can definitely find opportunities to overtake you.
Yep, and Speed is just staying ahead, and quite frankly for Spell as well in 4th place, no one can overtake him quite easily from that 5th place mark. So, you know, if either Speed or Ding finish the way they are right now, this should be a top 4 finish of Speed, Ding, JiMin, and Spell. We'll see if it continues that way.
Speed Speed still taking the lead, trying to block out Ding from making sure that he doesn't go over him. There's only 500 meters left, and Ding and Speed are neck to neck.
Oh, Ding jumps right out of him. He actually blocks him towards the end. He's going to continue. He tries to block the draft, but no Speed. He gets right ahead of him with the draft, and Ding not able to stay ahead. Speed will be the first place finish here in Group D of the round of 32.
What a story for Speed today. I feel like we just witnessed a roller coaster in the making, performing so well and consistent, but all of a sudden choking a bit, getting the worst possible results, but he manages to get the recovery that he needs in this final round.
Yeah, and you know, maybe Speed just wanted the absolute maximum points you can get, which is 59, because you would have to sit at 49 and then get first place in 10 points. So he hits that potential maximum score in solos. And Speed not only furthering his individual career by entering the round of 16 for the first preseason of the Kartrider Drift League, but he also keeps the name of Sensational alive here in the solos.
And not only that, the top 4 players of Group D today had a really sizable lead against the bottom 4 of the group. And I feel like that says a lot about these players' skills, as we see a nice keyboard.
Nice little decoration going on as well. And, you know, just to note, I mean, yeah, we've talked about Speed just because of how consistent he's been throughout today's solo match performance, but then you have the likes of Ding, JiMin, and even Spell, and we got to also remember, even there, Ding and JiMin were quite a ways ahead of Spell in terms of total points. So I think even the players who have moved on from this Group D, it's going to be a great match in the round of 16. And JiMin, we saw, you know, him there on the camera once again, but quite frankly, him being the item ace for Sandbox Gaming, and he comes in and says, I can be just as good in solos. This is very impressive.
A fan of JiMin with the cheerful, asking him to win it all, and he didn't win it all in the first place, but not being eliminated, I think that's a result that you should be happy about.
I mean, again, you just have to get into the round of 16, right? You only have to really greed for that first place once you get to the final 8. And we've seen that from players in the past, in Kartrider League, before we entered Kartrider Drift League, where you just try to get the podium finishes just to get through and through and through, and then towards the end, you kind of shoot forward, try to go for that first place. We'll see if JiMin can replicate that kind of success.
Yeah, I mean, JiMin, it is a sad story for him, falling only by 4 points behind, ending at rank 3, because the top 4 of each group, I believe, will have a consolidation group of their own compared to the bottom 4. So definitely a lot of results were so close, but at the end of the day, your position in the standings is what matters.
Yeah, I mean, you at least made it to the round of 16, and just as a reminder, the round of 16 is a double elimination format, so you have 2 opportunities to try to continue to move on and keep your hopes alive of entering the final 8 tier for solo matches in the first preseason of KDL. Oh, that's already a lot of time bought.
A lot of time bought, and time is pretty much the most expensive thing you can buy. We can argue you can't even buy it, right?
No, you definitely can't. Well, unless you're Speed and you just keep finishing races a lot faster than everybody else, and you'll just have more time on your hands. But yeah, I mean, again, impressive showing from Speed. I mean, just being dominant the entire time.
Yeah, and this is the rookie that was highlighted on the Team Sensation, who also just had a really star-studded lineup. So it was kind of surprising for me getting to listen to them talking about their strategies, pointing out Speed as the player. He's just been so good at adapting to Kartrider Drift, and they didn't lie to us.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we gotta remember, right? I mean, so many of these players, they can have all sorts of history, in other universes of Kartrider, whether it's Kartrider League, whether it's KRPL, Kartrider Rush Plus League, but Kartrider Drift is a new universe, right? It's a new iteration, and we're seeing some players are adapting a little better, they're adapting a little quicker. Some players are still trying to struggle to find their own pacing here in Kartrider Drift.
And that's what's really tough about competitions. It was definitely just separated into players who did really good and players who did struggle.
Yeah, so we'll have to kind of keep an eye on who grows as we continue with the preseason, but let's take a look at what happened today overall. We started with team match number 10. It was ROX Esports going up against Planet, and we were gifted with yet another ace match.
Ace match, we love them. Keep them coming. ROX We definitely saw so much from this team so far, and I am honestly thinking that we haven't even seen their full potential. Jung, such a good player for their lineup, always coming in clutch when needed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, what kind of player Jung grows into here in the KDL, because he has such a honored reputation over at the KRPL. Now, for our second match, it was a bit more one-sided. Aura taking the win with both speed and item wins, and that means FNL, unfortunately, currently still sitting with 0 wins in the team matches.
FNL Esports, I'm sure they picked up a lot of new fans today, even just out of sympathy, because we don't want to see a team drag far behind. We want to see a tight, close competition, and I'm sure FNL wants that too.
Yeah, and so the standings so far for the team matches, of course, Live Sandbox and Guangdong Freaks, kind of the two monster teams. Of course, they also have the infrastructure and the history behind them as well. They're sitting at 2 wins, 0 losses. Meanwhile, at the bottom, Sensation barely scraping by with 1 win, but Finale with 0. Both those teams will have a lot of homework cut out for them for the rest of the team match.
And the two teams, Aura and ROX, who both won their match today, did move up into rank 3 and 4, so I am sure they're happy about today.
Yeah, look at the players who made the round of 16. I mean, we started with players like Insu and Hyunsu, the duo over on Group A, and we rounded out today with players like Speed and Ding. I mean, round of 16 is looking stacked.
Super stacked. I mean, at this point, you already had a really stacked 32-man lineup, and now when you put that into a 16, you can't really single out any of these players to be a underdog. Everyone is just a really strong player with a great record.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are standouts like Neil, right, like Insu, just because of their history as well, but I think we have to wait and see. This is the first preseason for the Kartrider Drift League, so we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a couple days break. We will be returning on April 19th on Wednesday, and as it is Wednesday, we'll only have 3 team matches.
3 team matches, but look at the first one.
Ooh, Guangdong Freaks versus Live Sandbox. One of them finally takes a loss.
We gotta write this one down into our calendars. It's a Giant versus Giant. We don't know who's gonna win that one.
No, that's a tough one to call. And then it's FNL Esports versus Sensation, the 2 teams at the bottom, trying to get, either their first win or just one more win to try to climb into the top 4.
Wow, we are filming a movie on Wednesday. So many storylines coming into a clash. And of course, for match number 14, it's going to be Aura versus ROX, 2 teams that had stellar results today, once again fighting to keep up their win streak.
Yeah, and then trying to really solidify their place in the top 4. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for us here from the casting desk for the global stream. Thank you so much for joining us. My name was William Cho. I was joined by Peter today, and the Kartrider Drift League will return on Wednesday. We'll see you then.